Alright, hello.
I don't know.
Welcome to the roster session, the first session, because the
Yeah.
previous Lizardmen and Greenskins. I think it was Lizardmen and Greens. No, it wasn't. It was Lizardmen
Yeah,
and.
it was.
Anyway, we're doing Lizardmen and Beastmen. We're going through the
Yeah.
entire rosters today
Yes.
because the previous recordings are lost to history, and because this is the new DLC. This is the time to cover it with
Yeah.
all their rosters changed. Starting off
There we go.
with the Lizardmen because they're the worst one in my opinion, just because I don't like lizards. Prefer Beastmen.
Also,
Chaos all
is
the
it
way.
also because Tex plays it?
Yeah, there's that as well.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, look at these. Look how dumb he looks. Oxiol.
And
He
also,
looks like an orange.
how about them patch notes? You know.
Oh yeah, the
like,
patch there. There's nothing really to go through there. Is the Bretonian.
Apart from
buff
Norska being nerfed,
destroyed.
and now Beastman just walks up and just says, "How's
With
it feel
chariots.
being the worst faction?" It's just. I don't know. It's gotten to the point where it's like the Simpsons meme is like, stop, he's already dead. It's just CA beating the shit out of Norska.
Well, we may as well get started with the Lizardmen Lords, starting with the red-crested skink. Can be a very cheap lord, and pretty good for his cost as well. You take everything off him. He's only 650.
For an armor-piercing, anti-large, poison-causing lord with 45 melee defense, which keeps him alive pretty well.
And he's got 30 bonus versus large as well. That is a lot of bonus versus large. He gets up to 83 weapon strength, melee attack versus large. Very good. Plus frenzy. Plus frenzy. He has like 93 attack. 93 attack on a 650 cost lord.
The downside, though, is that he has only maybe 2,000 health.
Yeah, he's pretty
almost
squish.
3,000.
He's pretty squish.
Someone like, let's say, Dark Aeon decides to roll up on him, it only takes, what, 8 swings to kill him?
Yeah. He can die very quickly, but he can do a good chunk of damage for his health pool. You can throw him on the Horned one to fix some problems, get a bit of extra health, a bit of extra armor. This ability, I don't even know if you need this ability, since he's going to have like 83 melee attack versus large already.
Yeah,
you really need another 40.
I guess you take it for the melee defense if
he's
in a tight situation.
Yeah, the melee defense he does kind of need with that small health pool. And also this old amulet should help out a little bit as well with the whole staying alive. It's Alexis.
Welcome to the club. Just to say, for that replay.
Turns out we didn't need any replays. Get out, leave.
Okay, nice. But anyway, just for secret, it was really laggy, and you went via leadership. Okay, bye.
Cool, nice. You shed class. That's the last we ever heard of him. So yeah, Red Crested Skink, a good cheap lord if you want to invest otherwise in your army.
Final Fantasy mines he goes.
Yeah, that's off he goes. So pretty worth it overall. For just how cheap he is, definitely an option.
And also his low mass makes him go flying.
Yeah,
too,
if he's on foot. Tic-tac-toe, he is Master of Disguise. You can both his items are really only active if he's flying, so you should only take. Well, honestly, I wouldn't even bother taking these unless you're planning to go. Actually, no. If you're planning to go full like flying goon squad, with
bring
these,
a shitload of
bring these two. Yeah, but if
the really awful new unit they have.
Yeah, so
like
these can be quite good. If you're going that flying squad, it's like
if
against
the
vampire
was
counts,
actually
maybe.
good, then tic-tac-toe would become more relevant, but they're not.
Tic-tac-toe did get a price decrease, I think 100 by 100 in the patch notes, so he's a bit more viable now. I think one of his main uses is basically if you're up against like vampire counts or. No, it's basically just or maybe Bretonia if you just want to try and take that full flying, like you're expecting an enemy flying lord and you just want to goon him out basically.
Yeah.
You take tic-tac-toe and a squad of like Colossadon hunters and Ripidactyls. And then you take them down with these buffs as well.
Yeah, the idea to counter other air superiority is that if you win that air fight, you have, well, air...
Especially if it's against vampire counts, because it's going to be the enemy lord and you're going to kill him and you're basically going to win at that point.
Yeah, and also they don't have any range to drive you back anyways.
And again, with this ability that you could just recharge for extra 40 melee defense, so you may as well always take this. You can get them down really cheap.
Yeah.
So much like the Red Crested Skink.
Really fast.
Yeah, really fast as well. And a good chunk of damage. 55, 50, 350 armor piercing.
Low health.
And he gets his little sphere of Tepok as well, which is a nice little explosive bombardment. Pretty good. Two pretty cheap viable lords. If you wanted to invest army in the other ways. Oh Jesus, there's a lot of Rosto shit through this quickly. I've got Lizardmen have had like 10 DLC.
Yeah.
They're like Skaven now.
Yeah, they're pretty much Skaven.
Saurus
Orblood. It's a Saurus.
Yeah.
That's old.
It's a budget Krokgar, basically.
Yeah.
We'll get into why Krokgar's good later, but he's basically just a budget version. There isn't much reason why you take him over just Krokgar. He has a bit more survivability with his amulet of Itzel.
That's literally it.
That's pretty much it.
That's the only thing you got.
Throw him on a cold one, or you can throw him. Typically, you want him on a carnosaur, but you can also throw him on a cold one as well if you don't want such a big target.
Wait, actually, isn't the opal amulet have no cooldown?
Just should do.
Is it a one-time use?
Duration, yeah, it's a one-time use, 18 seconds, 60.
So it's not even. Oh yeah, it's not even that good then.
I think I got rounded down as well. I think it used to be 66.
Yeah.
So yeah, not great. But we'll get onto why Crockgar's good later. And if you really need to skimp out for some reason, you can't bring Crockgar, bring this guy, I guess. Oxiotl, the new kid on the block.
Might as well just bring a red-crested skink instead.
Yeah, basically. Oxiotl is the new kid on the block. He has his magic missile item, as well as this ability, which basically makes him unspottable. Even you need to be like right next to him in order to see him. So he is the definition of a sniper.
The few other lords have that, like the Shadow Warrior faction for the High Elves.
And Lithanar.
Lithanar, yeah, he's one of the few other lords that actually get that ability.
Yeah, just be unspottable and snipe at the same time.
Yes.
Yeah, it basically makes him a master sniper, and he has pretty good missile strength as well. Overall, it's all armor piercing. I don't know why a blow dart is armor piercing, but we'll ignore that. It should be noted that he does fire more of like a. His accuracy tends to decrease with range, so you want to usually get as close as possible before you fire. Yeah. Same thing goes for his magic missile as well. It tends to fire more of like a shrapnel round, so the closer you are, the more those missiles will be hitting, and the much more damage you'll be doing. But because of his unspottableness, you can fire like point blank and they won't even see him.
He's probably it's probably armor piercing because just Lizardman magic, or like he doesn't actually blow into the dart. It's just like he actually just stole the gunpowder from the Empire somehow. He's all over the place. It's like just
He also has a ton of ammunition. He does not really run out of ammunition until the very end of the fight.
He's literally Luther Harkin.
Yeah, he's old Luther Harkin in that regard. Although Lizardmen have no way to replenish. So.
Well, he is actually almost up to the same numbers as Luther Harkin.
Yeah, in terms of missile damage. Yeah, he just lacks the flyingness, but now he's completely unspottable, which is arguably better.
He's unspottable, which is arguably arguably better because you could just sit in the woods and just
just bit off.
Why is my health low?
Why is my lord dying?
Why is my lord dying? If you wanted to piss off a Vampire Counts player, you could just bring Oxidol.
Yeah, keep spitting one of those rounds at him.
And there's not much they can do unless they somehow
find him. Yeah, that's the goal. If he does get found, if you see that he's not hidden on his unit card, I'd recommend you run him away. Because if he gets caught out, that's not what you want to happen.
That's where you hit the panic button.
If it's so bad that somebody can actually see him, then you want him to run in the other direction.
Yeah.
But yeah, because, a really unique lord.
He has less health than the red-crested skink.
Yeah, 276, 228, 29. Although I think he does have something. He does have slippery, which can help out a little bit, but that's really all it's saving him. He has 40% missile resist as well, but that's not going to help in melee.
It means that he can't get shot to pieces. It's pretty much if someone catches him and then beats him into the foot.
Yeah, that is where he really doesn't want to be. So yeah, a really unique lord in terms of all the other Lizardmen lords. He's just a sniper lord that you want to keep very much away from everything, and then just keep firing off rounds.
It is unique in the lineup because they don't have anything like that.
Should be noted that his missiles and also his magic missile don't have like any penetration, so you really only want to be targeting him at like big entities. Don't really want to target him at infantry ever. Oh, it's Lycus. He said he wouldn't be here, but he's here now.
It is the Pigman himself.
Pigman bad.
Shut up, or I ban you.
No, you can't ban me from my server. Is this my server? This should be my server. I mean, you can.
Oh, it's not the server.
It should be.
Nothing is yours,
It should be mine. Anyway, we're talking about Lizardmen lords. Are you gonna help? Or are you just gonna talk?
Nope. I'm just gonna talk you.
No, can't do that.
Well, now we got the Crockgar man.
Yeah, we're talking about Crockgar now.
He's got the big.
So let's talk about for a minute every reason why Crockgar good and you don't bring the Saurus blood. So you have a lot of options to bring him on mounts. Yeah, you never bring him on foot. Typically it's either the horned one or Grimlock. You bring the horned one because when he's on Grimlock he can be a bit of a big target, and so against like missile factions like Empire or stuff like something with a lot of guns, Skaven, you might just want to bring him on a horned one instead because it makes him a lot harder to hit. He also gets a bit more armor as well, which just increases that survivability even more. Now, as for his base stats as well, because he has a spear, he has a huge bonus versus large, which the Saurus blood doesn't have on his horned one, which can make him quite scary on his horned one because he can get like 87 melee attack on his mount.
Make them
add to a charge bonus as well.
anti-large monster.
Yeah, very large.
Fighter.
Yeah, very effective anti-large lord.
Especially given the 78 speed that he gets on the horned one, he
Yeah,
can actually catch most
catch
monsters.
nearly everything.
Yeah.
So pretty much any large entity will struggle to fight him because of just how much damage he puts out. He also has a couple of abilities to help him out. He has a recharged 20% physical resistance and vigor that he can pop every 60 seconds or so, which is always going to be helpful.
Keeps him alive in a lot of physical fights and keeps his vigor up.
Yeah,
which
keeps his
if
vigor
his
up,
vigor is up,
make him even better in the long run.
Yeah, he's much stronger in long drawn out fights as long as you're activating that ability, and it has like a 30% uptime.
Yeah, pretty good. Deadly onslaught, I should say, and he also comes with an explosion. So if he's on his horned one, not usually so much of a problem if he's on Grimlock because it's a giant T-Rex, but if he's on his horned one, he can throw this explosion out. It's very similar to Verminous Valor, except for it does do a bit of damage, but it's mainly there just to escape from masses of infantry. So if he's caught up by a huge swarm of infantry, he can pop that, and he'll just explode his way out of it.
Woo.
Now the big old reason, which also makes Krokar really good, is Hand of the Gods, which is I believe is it an overcast Shem's Burning Gaze? Is that what it is?
It's basically an overcast Shem's Burning Gaze.
Yeah, and you get two of them for no winds.
I wouldn't even call it just an overcast. It's like the mega version. Yeah.
The bigger overcast.
The ultimate, the final form of Shem's Burning Gaze.
Basically, it's a very strong magic missile. It doesn't really have much of a wind-up animation as well, so it's really easy to fire. And it does magical and fire damage, which depending on what you're fighting, can help out quite a bit. Mainly useful against single entities, but yeah, whatever you want to use.
There's a lot of times that the two shots.
I don't know if you have bunches of Kalkangar or something you want to shoot at, like some monstrous infantry.
But in a lot of cases that you could potentially just, especially lower health lords, you could just two-shot them with this spell.
Yeah, does a lot of damage.
It's two shots.
It also works against higher entities. I really like it against, I hate it against Skaven because it basically, I think it three-shots most of these Skaven lords.
Yep.
It doesn't, it says it's good against armor. From my experience, training for the event on Zerg, Scott, it doesn't do too well against heavily armored targets.
No, I think it does.
And it's heavily dependent on how many missiles actually hit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and especially low-bearing infantry can be difficult to hit for these spells, but a large flying lord like a dragon or let's say a Lariel sitting on her stupid
pigeon
bird.
Queen. Yeah. Yeah, just some clay pigeon shooting. Take them out of the sky.
Yeah.
Probably any Wood Elf Lord on the dragons is good to hit.
Yeah.
Especially good against those kinds of things. They have like physical resistance. Ideally, the most ideal situation is a giant ethereal dragon, but unfortunately that doesn't exist. There's forest dragons, so there's
not yet.
Not yet. Ethereal dragon coming in Warhammer 3. Nagash's special dragon. It's a ghost dragon.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see that. That sounds meta.
The ghost mount. Very meta.
Krokar, very strong lord. Very strong if you're expecting a lot of large, and also can be a bit troublesome to get rid of him himself if you put him on his horned one. He's pretty hard to hit in any regards. Next, the Kroxigor Ancient. Yeah, it's terrible. Really is.
He hits things with big stick.
He hit thing with big stick, but he's anti-infantry? Question mark.
Well, I think the whole shtick is like the same deal with like trolls and stuff. Where, yes, I did not mean to make that pun, but
well, you did. This happened.
It's his splash damage. Unfortunately. They gave him too little melee defense, meaning that a basic unit of Chaos Warriors will wreck his shit eventually.
32 melee defense. He has this little thing to help him out, but again, this only has one charge.
It's one charge.
He doesn't get melee defense from any other sources.
Like, if it had multiple charges, then maybe, yeah, you could get away with that. But even then, he'd either, one, get shot to pieces, because he's kind of fast, so, like, he can catch most heavy infantry, but anything... But if the infantry just decides not to want to engage him, he'll just be busy running and getting shot. Or
to be honest, the heavy infantry could probably engage him and win. It's like most high-end infantry will just beat him. Even Hargneth Executioners could beat him.
Like Hargneth Execution. Like I think the Chaos Warriors would actually beat him eventually.
Probably even Chaos Warriors could.
Yeah, Chaos Warriors are great weapons.
Yeah, great weapons especially. Yeah.
But
yeah, just not.
It's just
he does okay damage output, but for how when it comes to anti-infantry. Things you're going to be throwing into infantry, you typically want them to have a high melee defense so that they don't get destroyed. Yeah. Or you want them to have a ton of armor and hit points.
The only time that it's usually justifiable is if the unit is using its charge bonus. or is trying to bounce in between different units.
Yeah, but you'll notice 24 charge bonus. He's not getting many favors from that.
It's
Although he does have a nice charge animation, but that's about it.
that's about it. But he's too slow to pull away. Like if he had 52 or 56, he could pull back and then run back in, and then pull back like a Minotaur or a Gorbel.
Yeah, he just doesn't have the stats needed for that. And his abilities are pretty self-explanatory with what they do. They're just not great. On to Gorok, the rock of the Lizardmen army.
Yeah, the bedrock.
He's literally Gorok. He just he's basically the Sigvald of the Lizardmen army. Yeah,
he's
definitely has
very
AP.
difficult to get rid of.
Very difficult to kill. He doesn't have regeneration, which is probably the thing that
And
him down.
also,
But
I
there is
think one
healing
of the
magic possible.
few Lizardmen units with a silver shield.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think everything else is basically bronze shields.
Yeah, this is, I guess, unique for him.
Only this guy's learned how to use a shield properly. He also has an extra 15% missile resistance. So this guy, as long as he's facing the missiles, he's going to take like no damage from missiles. Which is
like
typically where you bring him, is against missile-heavy factions. Mainly dwarves can bring him against Skaven. If you're not bringing Croc-Gar, if you're really worried about a lot of Jezils.
And he's almost got like 4,000 health. He's going to take time to
Plus,
die.
he also has 15% physical resistance, and he can also pop an extra 40% physical resistance. So that goes up to 55% physical resistance. And then he also has this, where he's given an extra 60 armor as well. He's just a really powerful thing. I wonder if he'll become better, because the thing is about him, unlike Sigvald, he can't heal himself. But now that the Skink Oracle's been added, and also there's also revivification crystals, you might be able to get a bit more healing off. So it might be more viable to bring these other lords now that the Skink Oracle exists, because the whole reason why people just bought Lifelands is because you wanted life magic or healing or Magic Monday.
You wanted to be able to heal, but you can't do
but
that
now you
with
can get
heroes.
Earthbloods from Skink Oracles, so we might see some of these non-caster lords seeing a bit more use. And Gorok might be one of them.
Because Gorok, every time I've ever faced Gorok, it's just a pain in the ass, because he just doesn't die.
He doesn't die.
You're better off
like
just
80
killing
leadership.
the rest of his army.
Community psychology, and then he pops standard eye as well. He also has a constant buff to himself with 8 leadership, so long as his hit points are greater. So he gets extra melee attack and leadership. He's a bit faltering in the melee attack, but if you want him to be a damage dealer, then you can take his mace, which will give him a temporary plus 40 and huge extra weapon strength as well, which can make him a much better duelist.
That's a lot, actually.
It should be noted that his shield as well also affects all allies in range, which 60 armor is a lot to give everything.
Yeah. Pretty much you could stick him with like a bunch of red-crested skinks and give them a shitload of armor up against something.
Get like dwarves. I think he probably is one of the better choices against dwarves.
Yeah. The dwarves really would have a rough time, especially if the dwarves didn't bring great weapons in any way.
Also, even with, especially with how it is now, a lot of people are bringing the new Lord.
Also,
he will not do very well against Gorok compared to like what used to be brought was like Grombrindle, which would do really good against Gorok in a 1v1. But now that Grombrindle's being like he hasn't got his flash bomb anymore, you're probably not going to see him anymore. You might see Ungrim a bit, but a lot of the threats that the dwarves would typically bring, you probably won't see for Gorok anymore.
Actually, the funny thing, you could actually pop it to defensively against mining charges.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So all your frontline skinks would just not die.
Because they have extra 60 leadership. I mean, armor.
60 leadership. We gotta just tough it through. Right.
Can't die if we believe hard enough, like orcs.
Alright, next.
Next on to a lord that probably isn't going to say much of anything ever. Nakai the Wanderer.
Nakai the Wanderer. He's the less shitty. Kroxigor Ancient.
Slightly not as bad.
Because he actually has the useful ability.
Yeah, his AoE buffs are really quite powerful. And 40 melee attack, plus 20 physical resistance to all allies in 30-meter range. And he can also give perfect vigor to everything in 30-meter range
which is
constantly.
Really, really good.
Which is going to be really, really good. Again, unfortunately, he does suffer the problem of 40 melee defense. He has more HP than the Kroxigor Agent, which does help out a bit.
Okay, here's the thing. If you stick him with something like Stark Chamber Guardians or just any infantry, he'll be fine. Don't have him run off with monsters or something, because he'll die. If you stick him in the middle of infantry and just keep him with the infantry blob, then he'll do great. Yeah,
he's mainly a supportive role most of the time.
But you could also bring Gorok, yes.
For much cheaper as well. It should be noted that Nakai is pretty overpriced in my opinion. Same as the Kroxigor Agent. The Kroxigor Agent should definitely be like 200 cheaper. And the Kai should probably follow that theme with an extra less 200 as well.
Yeah, it's because, well, Nakai, yeah, he is a way more expensive than...
Way more expensive. Considering like the price of a full all spells on a life slan, compare that to him, and it's like, what? Why is he more expensive?
Why would I... That's why no one ever really brings Nakai the Wanderer unless they're memeing on people.
Yeah, he's not. He's probably, in my opinion, the worst Lizardman Lord out of all of them. Probably.
Yeah, he got cost decrease, so now.
It wasn't very much though, wasn't it?
Yeah,
50?
it was only 100 gold.
Only 100.
Yeah,
Which, well, to be fair, it goes from 2,000 to 1,900, which is better than nothing.
Yeah, better than nothing. I think he used to be more expensive than the slan. Actually, no, I think the slan's prices have been changed because they had the spells on.
Yeah, the spells been changed, so...
So yeah, not a great lord. But, you know, if you want to try and go with some huge Death Star squad where you... Again, now that we have the healing available in Earthblood, he might see some more play. Next, the slan. Slan casters.
The frogmen.
For commonality's sake, we'll just be talking about the life slan because we'll click on that one. They're basically all your basic casters. It should be noted that all of them come with Shield of the Old Ones, which is a nice little bubble which will improve leadership and damage resistance of all friendly targets in the range. They also all have greater Arcane Conduit, which makes them really good casters. And they come with 2 Baron Banishments.
It's a greater arcane. It's a Arcane Conduit that's always on.
It's constant,
meaning you never run out of magic.
You get a ton of magic available to you. They also come with 2 Baron Banishments as well, which can be really helpful. 2 free banishment spells is really good. Just throw it into like infantry anywhere, range
and
units
then
anywhere.
Have it go back over your own units and wipe them all out.
Yeah, very good.
Unless you want to like play it safe and just drop it on an archer unit.
Yeah, even then you could just drop that and then it's already probably going to make its value back.
It gets its value back because
336 gold.
Yeah, like killing at least half of a single archer unit will make back its cost.
Yeah. Also, they have pretty good items as well. That thing is a nice little direct damage that you can just pop, very similar to like a single target Flock of Doom, but it does quite a bit more damage, and you get 4 charges of it for only 40 gold. You're probably going to be paying for that most of the time. And you can also get Aura of Quetzal, which is going to give all allies in range 30 armor and 24 melee defense. Can be sometimes good, sometimes because usually you don't want your slan that close to the front line, because he is a bit of a squish.
It's a scenario that if someone is actually catching your slan, things have gotten very bad.
Yeah, very wrong. You always want to stick him just in the middle.
Something has gone horribly wrong.
We'll get onto them later, but Star Chamber Guard, that's what these exist for, to guard these. No more options, he's just a squishy lord, even though he's a big toad on the chair. Slan. Next, Henowin. He is a beast caster.
Which is, yeah,
he
can fly.
Yeah, he has a couple of mount options. He has the Horned One, Ripidactyl, if he wants to go in a flying anti-infantry mode. He also has Engine of the Gods, Stegodon. He's got, of course, the passive of Law of Beasts, Arcane Conduit, Stand Your Ground, Law of Beasts spellbook. I forget what his items are. This is terrible now, because poison's been nerfed. It basically only gives you poison and plus 10% charge bonus to all allies in range.
Well,
considering
poison's just been nerfed, it doesn't make it bad.
No, but it definitely does decrease the value. I don't think this saw use beforehand, put it that way. And now it's
Tenno did see use beforehand, so...
Yeah, and no one ever used Tenno anyways, because it's like, why would I use a Beastcaster when I could just get Life Slan?
When I can get Life Slan. Again, that might change now that we have Skink Oracle.
Yeah. You could bring him plus a Skink Oracle with some healing.
Yeah, he has Plaque of Sotex. Whenever he's casting, he gets 20% damage resistance and 12 extra leadership, which is okay. I think that's only really useful if he's like on his Ancient Stegodon. He could be a huge target, that sort of thing, so-called the damage.
You could probably bring him on a flying mount with the Oracle on another flying mount, and
Oracle can only go on the Troglodon.
Really? Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for some reason. Don't know why that is, but it is.
I
think it's because they had to make Earthblood so expensive. You want Earthblood, you better be paying this much for it.
That is okay. Fair enough, I guess. Because it would make it way too
easy to get. Yeah, if they just added a Skink of Life, then it'd be OP.
Yeah.
So you have Tenno his mount options. You can see him really. Ripidactyl's probably one of the worst ones you can get. If you wanted to get a Flying Lord, just bring Tic Tac Toe, and then you can bring like a Beast Skink Priest if you really wanted it. I think more of a specialty comes from either being on a Horde 1 or Engine of the Gods, especially if you pair it with the Plaque. He can really soak up a lot of damage.
Yeah.
But again, he is a Beast caster in a faction which really favours life magic, which isn't great. But he's not the worst.
It's not awful. It's not like
No.
he's not a bad lord. It's
No,
just the
by
fact
no
that
means.
there's better
Lords.
options.
Yeah, they compete for it. Best that Castle Lord. For instance, if you wanted to compare a big old Castle Lord on a giant dinosaur, you're looking no further than Mazdamundi.
Yeah.
Probably one of the most common lords you'll see for lizardmen ever.
Because he has Earthblood.
Yeah, he has. No, he doesn't. He has
Oh,
apotheosis.
Masamudi doesn't
No,
have
no.
Earthblood.
He has apotheosis.
I
has
know
healing.
he has apotheosis. He effectively has healing. Yes.
That's what's important. Is he has the healing. His other abilities. What are they? Comet's not very good. Arcane Forging's alright. Net of Amatox and Net can be quite useful depending on, especially with some of the slow Saurus units that you can get.
Harmonic Convergence is actually very good
That's
for
a decent buff, yeah.
Lizard because they have no melee attack or defense for Saurus.
You can also drop melee, and you also have Curse of the Midnight Wind as well, which can work out quite nicely. He also given AoE plus 10 melee defense because that was rounded up along with everything else that was rounded up. I think there was 8 before?
Yeah,
I want to say 8 before. And now it's 10, so extra 10 melee defense for everything in range.
Been looking for, guys. Tex is going to be so happy.
Yeah, he'll be buffed. You should see how Marathi is, Jesus. Yeah, he also gets, along with the rest of the stand, he gets Shield of the Old Ones, Great Arcane Conduit. He has Rolling Skies, which is the worst one in the game, so ignore that.
Yeah.
He also comes
You
to
can
Banishment.
just turn it off.
And
for
Ruination of
extra
Cities,
62.
which is it says Wind Spell, but it really acts more like a Vortex spell in the way that it just destroys everything it has a chance of destroying everything in a certain way.
It's random.
Yeah.
If you put it too close to your units, there's a good chance you might wipe out your own front line because you might
Okay, so how this spell actually works, you have a center. That's where you put it. And then you have 3 lines that basically get randomly generated out of this center, which basically destroys everything ahead of it.
360 directions.
Yeah, you don't want to put it on your front line because there's like 180, so 50-50 chance that it goes into your front line and deletes your front line. And so you kind of like, I've seen it getting used a lot on archer lines. Like, for example, Bretonian archer line, you have 4 archers in the back, then you drop it in the middle, and there's a good chance you get value out of it. Yeah, I think it's cost like somewhat around 200 gold. Now it's probably exactly 200 gold.
Yeah, probably around 200.
Because now it's like the costs are adjusted.
Yeah, it's because of things.
And it's blue, so it should be 200 gold.
I don't know if that applies to spells and abilities or different. I think it only applies to spells.
Probably get your value out of it because it's double usage. But it's really difficult to aim.
It's risky.
And if you're strapped for cash, I would say remove
Honest, yeah. And also,
I think that's the general, because banishment is better because you have like somewhat more control.
Because if you bring in Mazdamundi, it should be noted that you can bring him on Slack, which is a giant Stegodon, which is anti-infantry. If you have Mazdamundi on Slack, plus the banishment, plus Ruination of Cities, it's like you've already killed all the enemy infantry. You're doing it a bit overkill right now. Calm down. So usually you don't need to drop, you can usually just drop Ruination of Cities because it's a bit too risky, and banishment is way more consistent, and you also have Slack to kill infantry with.
Yeah. I guess like the only advantage is that banishment won't go. Banishment might go all the way over to your infantry.
But you can usually control it a lot more with Ruination of Cities, which is just
Ruination of Cities. You can
spin
just
the
drop
dice
it on top of the unit and spin.
I want it to go here. Let's see what it does.
Spin the wheel.
Spin the wheel of luck, and it killed everything. Or it goes in all in one direction and didn't do anything.
All right, I guess time for heroes.
Yeah, that's Lords. That's for heroes.
All right,
Skink Chief.
The Skink.
Can we do this?
He's effectively the Night Goblin boss.
Except he has a blow
he can
dart.
fly.
He has blow dart as his main thing.
Yeah, a blow dart. Yeah.
Yeah. Typically, you see these. I don't think I've ever seen one on a Stegodon or an ancient Stegodon, like ever. Don't know why you would. But you can, I guess. But no, most of the time you bring in these guys, you bring in 2 of them, and you bring in them on Pterodons to be a sniping squad. You have them flying around, and you have them blow darting some random character down below. They're not armor piercing, so they aren't going to do huge amount of damage, but they are constant annoyance, and they have a ton of ammunition. As you can see, 82 ammunition. They're going to be shooting for literally ever.
Yeah, and you just sit there, and the idea is that you'd sit and poison a target the entire game and make sure that they...
Yeah.
Because you can... And also, if you're microing, you could have them shoot one of each unit, and it lasts like 20 seconds, the poison. Or
and it's really good against like lightly armored monstrous infantry, because you can just snipe off models, Chaos Spawn, Minotaurs, anything like that. You can just snipe off models as long as you want, and usually these are best served in factions that are without that much ranged, that can shoot it down, or without that much flying. So Beastmen, Chaos, things like that, you can just snipe things off with. They also have a little rock drop as well, but it doesn't do that much. But it's a nice little addition. Yeah. Nothing too special from their abilities and items. This could also be paired with like compare one of these with tic-tac-toe when you would want to go with your Flying Goon
Also,
squad.
For some reason, they gave them the potion that gives them 40% more
Charge bonus. 40%, yeah, which is...
I guess, like, if you're on the Stegodon, like, how much would that
Oh,
give?
yeah, that's a good point, yeah.
What's
If
the
you get a
Stegodon give?
For a Stegodon, you get 70, so yeah, he's going to plow through
70?
stuff.
So, yeah, he'd get well over 100 charge bonus. That actually...
And you can make him
too bad
unbreakable
it's
as
a
well.
one-time
on a
potion.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
Yeah,
then
but
again, you never
it's
see it.
still on its Stegodon.
Yeah,
It's
which you never
still on
see.
the
We're not gonna do because why?
Yeah, there was no reason you wouldn't just do that with a Skink Oracle or literally
Alright,
anything else.
well, I guess,
But yeah,
next
Skink
up-
Chief, after that, is the Saurus Scarvet, which is basically the hero version of Krokgar and the Saurus Old Blood.
Old Blood, yeah.
Which makes him
eat
pretty
smack.
good, because you don't have to compete with other lords, really. There isn't a lot of option for the Lizardmen hero pool.
He
and
gets
so,
the minus, like, 8 leadership.
yeah,
I
he
think.
gets a little... Well, going through the mount options first again, he can be put on the Cold Horn,
yeah.
Carnosaur. Should we note that, again, on his Cold Horn, same with the Krokgar, he has how much anti-large? 30 anti-large, so really quite terrifying, surprisingly, if you have two of these running around on their Cold Ones. They can, like, destroy single
Krokgar,
entities really
then-
quickly. Abilities-wise, typical then the old sort of Foe Seeker, and items, they do have this Plaque of Dominion, which drops everything in an AoE by 8 leadership for 20 seconds, and that is as many uses as you want, but it has a 60-second cooldown.
Yep.
Which is
And,
pretty good against those like low leadership factions,
30% uptime.
especially if you put him on his Carnosaur, then he can cause fear and terror.
Terror, so you
So
just
you can
toss
you
them
can get
in.
that a lot quicker. So against like low leadership
Activate it.
factions like Skaven, Greenskins, Beastmen, pretty good.
You could, you could try and like activate it just as you're about to hit your charge, so the charge bonus, then the fear, then the terror, and
And you're also flanking
also,
them, and boom,
here-
they run.
yeah. All of that hitting it just at once, and they just terror outright, or
Yeah.
just break.
Pretty good. Pretty good, typical hero that's really good against large single entities, but also you throw him on a Carnosaur and he's fear and terror causing, he's going to be good against those
Yep.
light infantry and stuff as well. There is also two, well there's actually three now, but we'll go over these two first. The Skink Priests, which are basically a run-of-the-mill hero caster, really squishy
Yep.
on foot, really squishy. Can get them quite cheap though if I remember rightly, if you put them on foot and like strip
Yes.
off all their spells. Yeah, you can get them pretty cheap. So you can, if you really want just like one spell in specific,
If you
like say,
want to bring the mana core,
yeah, if you really just want that Manacle Summon, or you really want that Chain Lightning or Wind Blast, then you
like
can take
that's
one of these for pretty cheap.
disgustingly cheap.
Yeah, really cheap for Manacle Summons. Again, you are competing that magic with other things, but since you can get Greater Arcane Conduit on a Slan, you can usually get a quite good chunk of magic.
Yeah, and also the fact that technically, if you want, you can still bring one other spell, so the Skink can still be useful after you use your 2 mana core summons.
Yeah, he has quite a few mount options, or technically speaking, he has 2 because there's just Stegodons with different variants. Old Stegodon, if we look at the differences here,
Yep.
it's just basically a stat change with the Ancient Stegodon.
Wait,
and
is
then
that
you have,
Engine of the Gods?
there's also an Engine of the Gods as well.
Okay.
So there's regular Stegodon,
That-
old Stegodon, and Stegodon with Engine
Yeah,
of the Gods,
so-
which we'll go and talk about when we cover the monsters there. But typically, because of how cheap you can get them, you don't really need to put them on anything.
Yeah.
Maybe if you
But-
have a lot of spells on him, put him on his Pterodon just so he's safe. He's not going to get sniped too easily. But if you're
But
just
if
bringing him
you've
for like
only-
1 or 2 spells, then don't bother. Just
Yeah.
throw him there. Throw him on
But
the
also,
ground.
you could probably just put him on the big Stegodon and then just treat him like a Stegodon
Yeah,
after
you could.
use the
Yeah,
two.
you could also just treat him as a Stegodon.
That's because also having him on the Stegodon gives it better leadership.
Yeah, I mean, compare it with where's the Engine of the Gods? Wait, is the Engine of the Gods not a thing?
No.
No, it
it's
is. No,
not
it
a
is. There,
separate unit.
2050. There it is.
Oh,
2000,
okay.
so yeah, you can get them for pretty similar costs. For actually, if this amount option is cheaper than the base. So if you want to bring
Yeah.
an Engine of the Gods, you usually probably just bringing a Skink Priest with it. May as well. Why not? Same thing
So
for
here-
Heavens. Just you have the only 2 access the Beasts in Heavens there.
Yeah.
It's items. I don't think there's anything too specific here. There's this one, which it's an AoE. It's not a map-wide AoE for miscast chance,
Yeah,
so you need to
so
get
it's-
pretty close to the enemy caster.
Again,
yeah.
unless you're on a giant Stegodon, it's
You
unlikely
probably
you'll
don't want to
do
be doing that. And you can also drain a target of some power recharge rate, which just basically means they're going to recharge slower, so it's quite a specific little cube of darkness.
If you're not microing that well, don't bother bringing
Yeah,
it.
don't bother using it. So yeah, next onto the legendary hero. The first one I think was added, Lord Croak. He is just an overpowered Slan, but he doesn't have access to any specific lore of magic. He's got some really weird, unique
got-
spells.
Yeah,
First looking at
call.
his abilities, he has Grey Arcane Conduit again, so you could just bring him as a battery theoretically, because he also comes with this really good ability, a bubble, 40% damage resistance to everything in the air, 40%. That's nearly half the damage for
Yeah.
18 seconds. It's pretty good. And you
thing
pop
is,
this
you can
when
still
somebody gets
combine
charged.
this with
Yeah.
the shield of the old ones because it's Supreme Shield of
It's
the
a
old.
Supreme one, that's how you can tell.
Yeah.
Because it's branded Supreme. But yeah, really powerful. You're hitting that charge, you're worried about your big dinosaurs in the front line getting shot to pieces, then you can pop this down and really reduce that. He also has his unique item, which reduces melee attack by 10 for everything in range.
It's kind of like the AoE thing on like Skrulk and the Chieftain in Skaven.
Yeah, although it is a
-5
bit
melee
misplaced here
defense.
on Krog because he's absolute trash in melee, and his
And,
health.
well,
He has a decent health
minus-
pool, but
Well, the -10 melee attack would help defensively. Like
Yeah.
that, it makes sense in the sense that he's trying to defend himself, and it reduces their attack, meaning he gets hit less often, and his bodyguard gets hit less often. So that
and
I
actually
can
scaled
see,
up as well because it's minus
yeah,
10. So.
it's still 236 gold, which is a lot of gold, but 55 meters is pretty big. If you have them inside of a unit of infantry, anything that fights that infantry unit is probably going to lose.
Yeah, I didn't realize he had 40% missile resistance. That explains why shooting him doesn't do much.
Yeah, because
40%
and then
missile
plus 40% damage resist, right?
We'll also use this moment. This is our welcome to Magic School as well, because we're also going to cover the entire spell lore of the Lore of Itza. It's a really long one, so you've got to stay here for a while.
Yeah, you're gonna have to.
It's
buckle
three
up.
explosion. It's three
popcorn.
explosions that scale damage. There you go. It's pretty self-explanatory. This one
Also-
is basically like a Vile Tide or a Awakening of the Woods.
Yeah,
This
it's
one-
a fairly weak explosion.
Is like an Overcast Vile Tide, and then this one is more like a Foot of Cork, or
Yeah.
what's the other one?
The second
Comet of
one,
Casanova.
yeah, Comet of Casanova, like Foot of Cork. I think the second one is more like burning bolts, where
Yeah, Piercing
no,
Bolt. Well, yeah,
not
basically
piercing bolts of fire. I mean, Searing Doom.
Searing Doom.
Where
Yeah.
it does a lot of damage to unarmored infantry and can wipe them out, but won't outright kill heavy, but
Yeah.
will do some damage to them.
Yeah, it's literally the version of light, medium, and heavy. I think do they scale and cast time as well? I'm not entirely sure.
No.
No, they all
They're all
take the same amount of time. But yeah, they obviously also scale magic. This one will like nuke like any type of infantry unit, and this one is only really good against light infantry. Very specific lore.
Yep.
And not a very good one because it's only explosions, and there's something don't really need more AoE destruction because they already have banishments and ruinations and slacks and
Yeah, you could
stegadons
just
and
bring a slan.
engines of the gods and comets, all spell laws. They also have ancient salamanders. They basically have any giant dinosaur. You can also get Quattles now, which also have banishment. You can also get these arcs of Sotek. You get the idea. You don't need more
Yeah.
AoE, which is why Krok
Alright.
isn't used too much.
Now for our next hero.
The new hero on the block, the Skinkaracle. He is bound to a Troglodon. We'll talk about Troglodons later, but he's bound to it. You cannot take him off. I don't know why, but you can't. He has Foe Seeker, but it's Foe Seeker, who cares? And he has a mixed lore spells, all common spells, but all pretty good common spells as well. Harmonic Convergence is a really good buff. Wind Blast is a really good breast spell. You can tear apart cheap skeletons really nicely. Cheap infantry, like 1 or 2 blasts, you can wipe out a unit. Fireball is a fireball. It's pretty good.
It's a fireball. You throw it at people who
So you can
decided
entity-
that
You don't like them,
fly in your airspace. I don't think so.
you pop them out the sky. Boom.
Yeah.
Wyson's Wild Form, another nice buff. Flock of Doom, a nice AoE thing taken down, mainly for
Yeah, the new version of the wild form.
more for large numbers than anything. And the piece of resistance is Earthblood.
Yep.
Wait, is that being scaled down? Has Earthblood been nerfed?
Yes.
Earthblood was nerfed. I just want to be.
It,
No,
it
100.
used to be 400.
Yeah, it used to be 400 healing.
600.
I think it used to be
No, it
400
used-
healing. Let's take a look.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I swear this was 800 healing before.
Yeah.
As a
I
cost.
think they finally nerfed
They
Earthblood.
nerfed it. I wonder if they
They
nerfed
nerfed
Invocation
it.
as well.
They-
Sorry, I'm going to take a time to look at. No, they did not nerf Invocation. No, they didn't nerf that though. That's still 800.
Darn it.
Good time. So yeah, Earthblood has been nerfed, but it's still really good. I mean, it's only like what,
Yeah.
70 less healing.
Because
Pretty
any healing is better than no healing at
Yeah.
all, pretty much. That's
And
the idea.
This is now the first time that outside of Revocation Crystal that Lizardmen have access to healing outside of the sun.
Technically, Apotheosis is better now because
because
480 healing.
that's no actually because it used to be that Apotheosis was basically just worth
And the
burst Earthblood.
Revivification Crystal too.
Oh yeah, how much does that give?
I think it gives like
the wrong one.
it's the same as Apotheosis.
624. That's more, I think.
Yeah, 624. Okay, that's more.
And it
actually, yeah.
resurrects dead combatants as well.
Yeah,
we
did
might
you know
see-
that it resurrect?
No,
I
I
didn't
was just
know it
pointing out it does.
resurrected combatants, but
It's the only other
and
spell
that's-
that, besides the undead, that can
Yeah,
resurrect.
Well, it's
No, I
not,
think
it's
there's
not
one-
magic, so
no.
it's and
Nope, it's the only one.
yeah, it's also 7 uses, so it's like
Yeah. But it's
Yeah.
huge. 60 seconds. You're not gonna use that often. By
You'll use it probably like
Yeah,
3
but-
times before.
well,
It's
to
also
be
on a
fair,
staggered on
that's-
which ain't dying too quick.
it's also the same scenario with like.
Anyway, we'll talk about that
Blood.
later. Just you. We'll talk about that
Okay,
later.
yeah, we'll go about
So yeah, Skink Oracle tied to a chocolate dome, which makes it pretty expensive for all these cheap spells. But the access to Earthblood and all these nice little cheap spells, you can basically bring him as your caster. Opal
Yeah.
Amulet will help with damage resistance, and he also has this drum for some reason. Okay, onto infantry. Skink Cohort.
Yep.
They are trash. They are utter garbage. You thought
Well-
goblins were bad. These are worse.
Yeah. Because goblins at least have the decency of being silver shield and expendable.
Yeah, Skink's bad. They lose to clan rats. Courtesy of Lycus for that knowledge.
Yeah.
They are basically your chaff
Apparently
infantry.
have the quick learner trait. What does that even
fuck is that?
mean? What is
Oh,
that?
less experience to rank up than its peers. So you might get it to
Ah,
1
God.
bronze chevron before it gets annihilated. You know what? At least it's learning.
Yeah.
It's learning how to die. Because that's all it's really good for. You can
Then
see
just gets hit in the
55
face
leadership.
with a mace.
It has a nice little bronze shield, so it's fairly okay at absorbing missiles. I mean, it's 300 cost, so you want it to be absorbing missiles if you can. But its
And
stats are just terrible. pretty
6,000
much.
But also, it has all the numbers that
Yeah,
you'll ever need,
it's-
and also is effectively cheaper than clan rats.
Yeah,
which
also-
is why they probably lose.
Also, 46 speed is pretty fast for an infantry. That's
Yeah.
really fast for an infantry. They can get places really quickly.
And
If you need them to
technically,
flank, you can
due
use
to
them as a
the-
flanking infantry if you want.
And due to the aquatics, it makes it so that using them in like, if you're on a map with tons of swamps or water, they're great because
Yeah.
they'll actually win fights.
And they'll run through it. They might beat goblins in that regard, maybe. Just
Yeah.
barely. But yeah, typical chaffy, low leadership infantry. Throw them through, you can use them a bit as a flank. You want them to go after missiles
Or
ideally.
you could use them to just sit and hold like your flank because
For like 3 seconds, yeah.
yeah, they'll die, yeah, but they'll at
They'll
least
die with honour.
give you time to respond with your cavalry or monsters.
Now, red-crested skinks will also die, but at least they'll actually do something before they die.
They'll do damage before they die and
Because-
poison their opponent.
It looks like they have about the same stats of the cohort, but they also have Frenzy, which is an extra 10 melee attacks. That puts them to 34. Granted, they only have 19 melee defense and 30 armor, so they are going to die, but they're going to put up some pretty
Unless-
decent damage before
Unless
they
we
die.
get our Gorok to
Oh
give
yeah,
them
give them that
extra-
armor or that melee
Yeah.
defense. Did they get melee? Buff them.
Yeah.
Can help out quite a bit. They also
Oh,
have more
yeah, yeah.
leadership than the cohort as well, so they're going to be sticking around for a bit longer as
The-
well.
Yeah, you can kind of have a better working thing with the red-crested skinks, and why people will tend to bring them a lot, because they're reliable.
Yeah, they are basically also the
They-
only armor-piercing infantry for Lizardmen. So against those heavily armored factions like Chaos
well,
and
we'll bring
Dwarfs,
up,
mainly Dwarfs.
Saurus later, but yeah.
Well, yeah, but Temple Guard are anti-large, so if you're dealing with heavy armored
No,
infantry.
I mean, I'm talking about the regular Saurus.
Oh yeah, Saurus do have a decent armor.
They have
AP value.
like I think a third of their damage is all armor piercing.
But these still have more, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, I
they
don't
were
think
19.
so. They have the same. They have the same armor piercing.
18. One more, I was right.
Uh,
So yeah, Red Crested Skinks, they're to die, but they
By
do some
one.
pretty good damage as well.
but yeah, the other thing is that they're also cheaper than Saurus, who do almost about the same amount of armor piercing. It's just
But yeah,
the fact that
just cheaper.
yeah.
Now, another new unit, Chameleon Stalkers. It's going to get confusing when there's Chameleon Stalkers and Chameleon Skinks, but yeah, there they are. Shock Infantry. These guys are a bit weird. They're like skinks. They're skinks. They are pretty good at holding, because they have 36 melee defense and also 20% physical resistance. They also have a good 25 charge bonus, which is pretty decent for an infantry, which is probably why they define as shock infantry. Only 22 melee attacks, so they're going to be doing most of the damage on the charge. They're also going to be doing most of the damage on the charge, because when they're charging, they have basically 2 volleys. They fire 1 volley when they're charging, and then maybe you can pull them out and fire it again if you want to.
And also
Grenades,
the-
more or less.
Yeah, well, really, it's just the fact that they decided to play some Rome Total War before,
Yeah.
getting in here, so they decided to copy what the Romans
Yeah,
did.
if you know in Rome Total War how all the melee infantry, well, most of the melee infantry will like throw
All
a javelin
the
before.
Hastades and basic legionnaires
Yeah,
will
throw a
have
javelin before while they're charging. They basically do
Yeah.
that, but with grenades from a blow dart.
Yep.
Don't ask me how it works, but it does. They're pretty decent infantry. Again, 48 speed, pretty good for infantry. and they are cheaper than Saurus. And they do pretty good against light infantry, but just on the charge. They can wipe out like an Ungor herd with just both their volleys before they even have to engage in melee.
Yep. Blow dart with explosive payload.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also they have stalk.
Yeah. So you won't see them until it's too late.
Until it's way too late. So yeah, pretty decent. If you're expecting to go up against, I'd recommend these guys if you're going up against light infantry, basically. If you're not expecting a lot of
you're up
armor.
against light infantry, like maybe you could bring 2 to kind of break up certain parts of the formation and then kind of push your monsters through after.
Yes, like greenskins, beastmen, etc., etc.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now,
Probably
onto Saurus.
Something tied to the dart. Saurus.
That sounds very dangerous.
They have okay armor.
There are 4 variants. I mean, who doesn't take the shielded variants? Let's just be honest.
There's literally no reason.
There's really no reason because just how much of a bonus it is. Like, we can just have a quick look. It's an extra 6 melee defense, and you get a bronze shield for 50 gold. That's really good value.
Yeah, there's no reason to not take shielded.
There's a regular variant, and then there's the spear variant. As you can imagine, the spear variant is better at large. I think how much damage large to get? 12, I think.
Yeah. 16
and 6, which puts up to 40 melee attack.
Yeah, and again, it's relatively high armor piercing.
13 AP.
It's one of the weird things about the Saurus is that they have a really good AP for just being basic infantry.
I think it's just because they have so much weapon strength. Like 52 weapon strength is a lot for infantry. And so that just ends up being that like they have a lot of armor piercing damage as well.
The downside though is that they have dog shit melee attack.
Yeah, really bad melee attack. They are very much a whittled down unit.
Yeah, they will, unless you use Harmonic Convergence or some other buff spell that allow them to outfight their opponent. Yeah,
when you're dealing with large, the Saurus spears and shields become really good infantry because they all of a sudden have really good melee attack as well.
So much damage.
But the Saurus warriors themselves are a pretty common front line, and they will beat pretty much every other basic front lines, like any spearmen, rangers. Just going through them, Gors will die to that. I'm pretty sure. All Bretonian infantry will die to that.
Yeah.
The only thing you'd have to be worried about is like elite infantry, maybe greenskin infantry, and dwarf infantry. That's really
any infantry that doesn't have decent
AP values.
Armor. Yeah, AP. Well,
and armor. You want, like, if it has AP and armor, that's what you want to stay away from.
Yeah. But if they have armor and good stats, like basic unit Chaos Warriors, they'll lose to those.
Yeah.
And if it's something with lots of AP, like White Lines of Trace or something,
or Black
and they have the high melee defense because of martial prowess, they'll lose to that because they can't hit them.
Yeah, but a pretty solid rock of very similar to like Longbeards, except from they'll lose to Longbeards, even though they're more expensive.
Yeah.
So
they'll lose a lot because Longbeards.
Because Longbeards are longbearding, but pretty solid infantry. You can't, because of how expensive they are, like it's 800 gold, you're probably not stretching more than like 3 or 4 units of these in your front line, and you're just mixing in skinks with the rest.
Yep.
But against elves, against most front lines, they'll do pretty well.
Yeah.
And obviously, if you're expecting more large, bring these. If you're expecting less large, bring those. And first ROR of the section is a pretty exciting one, Cohort of Sotek. They are just, as you'd imagine, ROR versions, so they have just way better stats.
Red-crested skinks.
And they are also unbreakable, and they also have this old ability, Refuse to Die. I don't know how that works, but they just refuse to die. For 20 seconds, they cannot lose entities. There are some moments where this can become really funny and really OP, because obviously if you're like, they're in the middle of a nuke, then they just don't die.
Yeah, or they attempt to like drop a foot, like either a wave spell or a breath spell that should kill them all. You click it fast enough, and the health goes down, but the models stay.
The models don't go.
You heal it.
Then you heal it back up. That's the ideal situation, yeah.
That's the ideal, especially with the Oracle now, where you could just like after popping that, you just drop Earthbloods or something on it, or you could drop a regrowth too, because they're always going to stay alive during that entire duration, no matter how much damage they take.
These also work pretty well against like single entities because of how like entity smash damage works. They'll usually like nuke the 3 in front of them, but if you have this, then they won't die. So even though they'll take all the damage, they're not going to die from it, and they'll stay alive as long as they don't take any more damage as well. And seeing as with the frenzy, they get up to like 41 melee attack. If you get these surrounding like a single entity of any kind, they can usually cut it down pretty quickly. Yep. Without losing any entities. So yeah, a nice. It's one of the RORs that you just kind of want to bring almost always, unless you're really not expecting any armor.
Yeah.
You probably want to bring it. Pretty good.
Yeah. Next ROR.
Oh yeah, Legion of Chakwa. This is an ROR Saurus Spears
Saurus.
with its own little ability where it gives itself and everything in its radius of 30 meters 40% missile resistance.
Which is pretty good,
Pretty
especially
good.
if you've got a bunch of shield, like a bunch of shielded Saurus surrounding this unit, like on its flanks.
Yeah.
Then that's pretty good.
Or you can just, this also is used just as a bodyguard unit, except from it's not protecting it from any models, it's protecting it from missiles.
Which,
so if you're more worried about if you're more worried about missiles than you are assassins, then bring these guys.
And given slans have a lot of like missile resist to begin with another 40% of missile resist,
yeah,
it'll make it very difficult to even snipe them with cannons.
Yeah, or you can just throw this into like if you've got like some big dangerous dino that you don't want to take a lot of missile damage, or you know is going to take a lot of missile damage, so you throw them next to it, and then boom.
Yeah.
Because they do get 3 charges of this, and it lasts 25 seconds, 90-second cooldown, but you can usually probably get 2 of these off the game still.
Yep.
So yeah, pretty good. If you're expecting a lot of missile fire, then bring these. I'd recommend it. Now onto the elitist of infantry, the Temple Guard.
They are the Temple Guard.
They are Temple Guard. They have pretty similar to Saurus stats all around, but the thing is they have the
they
AP.
Suffer from,
they also have more HP and a ton of anti-large. I think it's
better
like
armor.
16, yeah, 16 again. So that's what 47 melee attack versus large. They also have 85 leadership. They also don't. It should also be noted that just going back briefly to the Saurus is that they also have this thing called primal instincts. So that when they reach less than 20% of their HP, they go into rampage and gain an extra 8 melee attack. Which it's arguable whether or not that's a good thing or a bad thing, but these Temple Guards are trained beyond that.
If it's a frontline unit, then it wouldn't really matter.
No,
because you're fighting in the front line, it probably works out better. But if you're trying to flank with it,
or you're trying to use like a bodyguard in the Temple Guard, you probably don't want it on the Temple Guard because you're trying to use them as a bodyguard.
Yeah, which is why the Temple Guard doesn't have that ability.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
actually, did the Legion of Chakwa have that ability?
Yeah, they do.
Primal? Okay, so
they'll get an extra. That might be a reason why you might want to take those.
Yeah.
But yeah, Temple Guard are your pretty strong, pretty armored 85 armor halberd infantry. It says right there on the tag. Really strong halberd infantry. They'll really chew through anything large. Like there's very little that's large that will beat them.
Oh, go on.
Nope, you go on.
Oh, yeah, but I was going to point out they still suffer from the main problem of Saurus having bad stats.
Yeah.
Just in general. Like,
not great melee
if they
attack.
get caught by any mediocre infantry, they'll lose.
Yeah, and not great speed as well, so they ain't getting away anytime soon.
Yeah, there's... and also, in some cases, like, strong shock cavalry could probably break them.
Yeah, probably.
With 1 or 2 charges because of the low melee defense.
Mm. Next, onto the final infantry, and the final infantry are Star Chamber Guardians. They are really what they say on the plug, mainly because of this old ability here. Guardian, their main 2 standouts, apart from being obviously max chevron, is they have the Guardian ability, so they give 15% physical resistance to any lord or hero nearby, and they have magical damage.
Yep. Okay.
Pretty good, both pretty good. Yeah, they're a Guardian. You stick them with your slan, you stick them with your lord.
Use them for their intended purpose, and they will do well.
Yeah, these guys are literally there to guard the slan. They're even in the lore, they're there to guard the slan. So they let them do their job and let them guard the slan.
Let me do my job. Stop trying to use me on
the front line. Fun fact: you can stack that with Gorok and get even more physical resistance.
Jobs.
If you stack it with Gorok, you just make 2 units completely unkillable.
Yeah.
That would be funny.
Anyways,
next onto the missile infantry, Skink Cohort. These guys
kind of
they're skink.
They're actually pretty good.
They're pretty good.
So many missiles.
Yeah, and they have the exact same stats as the Skink Cohort, except from they have missiles as well.
In a lot of cases, most Lizardmen player will just bring a shitload of Skink Cohort javelins because they're effectively Skink Cohorts, but with missiles and a whole bunch of them.
Yeah, 8 times out of 10, I'd say you bring these over the regular Skink Cohort because they have javelins.
Because they're able to whittle down their opponent with a ton of fire. They only have 3 volleys, but that's still a lot of missiles.
That's still
120 missiles.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Like most archer units only have like 60 models or less.
Yeah, they don't have the greatest range, but still, like again, it's similar to like the shock infantry, the community stalkers. They throw again, then they might need to get into infantry.
1, 2, 3, and then they just charge in.
Yeah, that's regular Skink Cohort.
Especially if it's light infantry, by the time you finish your 3 volleys, Like, just basic math. You fire 360 javelins at
Yeah,
them.
if it's unshielded, like if it's berserkers or something,
They're
it works
dead.
really well. Or if it's a lightly armored single entity, that works really well as well, like a giant or a Jabba
Yeah.
Slice or something. You can usually chip that down by quite a bit as well.
But especially if you've got 4 units of these or 5 units of these, like
Yeah, because
the
they're really
amount
cheap.
of
400 gold
yeah,
is quite cheap for that.
the amount of fire that you're putting out for the amount of gold you've spent is kind of nutty.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
And how fast they are, and the fact that they actually have okay stats for melee attacks.
Yeah. The next unit, Skink Skirmishers, are a bit of a weird trade-off. They're if you compare them to Skink Cohort with javelins, they are making up for the fact that they're terrible at literally everything else, except from they have more ammo, and the fact they can fire 360.
And also, they have poison.
And stalk. No, these have poison as well.
No, that's chameleon
both have
skinks that have stock.
Oh, yeah, these don't even have stalk. It's the chameleon ones that would have stalk. So, overall, you're probably just bringing the Skink Cohort with javelins. There's much reason to bring these instead. Like, if you really shouldn't be worried about ammo when it's not that much.
The thing is, the javelins, you can use them as a frontline unit because they'll fire off all the javelins before the enemy reaches them.
Whereas these will just get destroyed by anything.
Yeah.
Immediately. Like, these will get destroyed, but these will get really destroyed.
Yeah.
And they also have less health and fewer entities.
And yeah, they have less entities, which is the other problem. Which you want to do immediate damage.
Yeah.
As much as you can with the skinks, because the thing is,
a
a 400 gold skink will always get more value out of the basic shitty skink cohort or the. Anyways,
because they die so quick, so you really want to use up all the ammo as quick as possible. Next on to Chameleon Skinks, which are basically the upgraded version of the Skink Skirmishers in pretty much every way. They now have more Skink Cohort stats, they have better damage, and they have Stalk.
Poison on everything.
Their main thing is the fact they have Stalk, which makes them basically just a nice, decent, harassing skirmish unit. Although now their price has gone up, and now that there's the Skink Stalkers to compete with, they're not so good anymore, I don't think.
Well, they're still going to be good, because
but
they still got 48 movement speed and also poison, and because the poison's been nerfed, so you won't run into the situations of like a unit of boar boys having to sit there going,
yeah, things can catch them a lot easier now.
Because their speed drops down below the skink speed.
If this was before patch, I'd say these were one of the greatest in the Lizardmen roster, but now after all the nerfs to poison, to the fact they have a 50 gold price increase, and the fact that Chameleon Stalkers are now in the game, they're not terrible still. There's definitely tons of ways to use them, but they have dropped significantly from their title of fame.
They're not the best unit to bring, or a must-bring unit.
No, yeah, definitely not anymore. They're not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's it for that. Next, on to the cavalry, starting off with feral cold ones.
They're feral and they're cold.
They're cold. They are basically feral raptors.
A series of ones.
Think Razordons. That's what these are. We'll get onto Razordons
even
later.
Shittier.
Yeah, way worse. They have more armor. And they're a bit faster, I think.
They cause fear, at least.
Yeah, they cause fear.
Like,
but
for 450 gold for free fear, like you slap that with the dino.
They're pretty AP. They're pretty good AP values as well.
Yeah. Like, I guess you could, if you know the enemy has a weak front line, like clan rats or something, you could stick it with some Saurus and use the fear to kind of help break them.
Yeah. Otherwise, you can just use this as a hound unit. Because
they're just really shitty hounds.
Yeah.
Because they're shittier than hounds because they're fucking slow, so they're not even good at their job.
But yeah,
anyways,
they're just worse hounds. Use them like hounds, that'll be fine. Now into some actual cavalry. Whether these count, I don't know. But, because I'm pretty sure cavalry have riders, these don't. They shouldn't be under this tab, CA. Cold ones, not riders, are lizards actually riding lizards. They are basically
some lizard on lizard action.
Just super buffed up versions of the feral cold ones, and they have just way more HP as well.
Yep, they're just better in every way.
It's like you took basic Empire Knights and gave them AP. That's more or less what this is. They don't have quite the same amount of charge bonus.
And also the way less charge bonus. Pretty much you're trading off the charge bonus for AP.
Yeah, they also have the Primal Instincts again. I think, do these guys have the Primal Instincts? No, they have just the basic Rampage, don't they?
They have the basic Rampage, so +8 melee attack, which is fine, I guess. Like, if you're using them as, like, a melee cav.
Yeah, you don't really... Yeah, they are a melee cav more than they are shot cav, so
they're more...
Rampage.
So you would just run them in, slam into the enemy, rampage, and then get that extra attack, which would put them up over, I think, like 39 melee attack, which is good.
Pretty good.
like that could actually kill a unit. They'll die just as fast, but
because they only have 26 melee defense, but they have
but
90 armor.
if you have healing or something, you could make them go a little further.
Yeah, they are just a really decent medium tier cav with AP though, which makes us. They're really their standout. They're just basically a medium cav, but they have AP.
The reason why people don't really bring it is because there's just better options out there.
Yeah. Next.
You will see in a second, because the next unit is Goldman
Spear Riders, which
Yes.
are, if you look, just overall stat-wise worse, but the main thing is they get an extra
Large.
14 bonus versus large, which puts their melee attack up to 40.
40, which means that
Pretty
they
good.
affect, and with the Rampage, they can really do some damage to cavalry.
Yeah, throw in the charge bonus as well. These guys will win a lot of cav engagements. Probably not all, but a lot.
Yeah. Most of the time, you'd want to bring these ones if you're trying to do flank battles, because they can actually kill cavalry better than the regular Golden Runners, but are more expensive.
Although, if you know,
So-
it's basically you're trading off 150 gold for like 11 melee attack versus large.
Yeah.
And that's basically what if you need it. If you need it, go for it. If you
Yeah.
don't, then you could probably
If
make
you
do with
don't,
just
just
these.
bring the regular cold ones.
Yeah, it is 150 gold difference, so be pay attention to what gold you got. Ripodactyls. Boy, I don't use these enough, so I don't know. I'm gonna get a drink. You guys talk about this.
Yeah, they have probably
Are-
one uses. They say they're anti-infantry, but they're really
They're
good at killing large single entities. They have a high
Because-
melee attack. They have shitty melee defense, but their
What a
melee
weapon
attacks just
strength of
allows them.
126.
Yeah. Huge weapon strength, huge melee attack,
With
but
8
shitty
models.
melee defense, and a decent charge bonus, I would say. Like, not great,
Yeah,
but not
it's-
worse.
52
So,
is actually pretty okay.
They
for
also have
especially-
frenzy, so their stats will be higher in battle.
Overturned.
So
50.
basically, I think how you use them, or I've seen them being used, is basically mostly against Tomb Kings, because you can kill single entities. You can surround them. They have like not a decent mass, but they're flying, so they have a kind of weird mass, so the entities are not really able to pull through. And you can do damage because you surround them automatically and then you kill them.
Yeah,
They are
and
also decent against Ushabti.
oh yeah, because of
and-
the singular entities. Yeah.
Yes, we will talk about the RR version in a second. You will see why you normally bring the RR version and maybe one or two of the normal ones.
Yeah.
Yep.
Pretty much, if you want to really screw over anyone who thinks that they're gonna go air superiority when you got tic-tac-toe on your back, yeah.
Yeah, these.
These sons of bitches.
These.
Because you can pretty much swarm any flying unit, 8 models, all attacking at once. That's at least over 900 damage every round of attacks.
That's a lot of damage.
And there's not a lot that survives that unless they have either really high melee defense and a really solid amount of attack that can just knock each of the birds out one at a time.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, they work pretty well. Next,
Yeah, okay.
the
moving on.
ROR Spear Riders. Pock Hopax cohort.
Opak Show Cohort.
Thank you, Lycus.
Uh,
Resident Lizardman translator.
yes.
Speaking for the
They
Lizardmen.
have better stats and are immune to psychology and don't rampage.
Don't rampage, immune psychology, and they have Vanguard. So
They're pretty and also 85 leadership. So they're just really reliable cavalry unit.
good.
I guess you could use them as a defensive to kind of knock out any unit trying to flank.
Yeah,
or
makes them
trying-
just even better against Curve, or to be
Yeah.
honest, actually, this probably makes them better against Large because of the terror and stuff and
Yeah.
psychology.
Yeah, you could use them against monsters and stuff.
Yeah, wait a second. Do they have less? No, I don't know why they
No,
had 16.
they're the same amount.
But yeah, arrow up again. It's that situation of if you have 300 gold left over and you have one of these, maybe trade it out.
Yeah.
Now the Coston Hunters. You notice the Ripodactyls are anti-infantry. Well, these are anti-large. They also have this, which gives them more damage, but also puts them into rampage. They have how much anti-large is it? 15.
Oh, it gives them the chance of putting them into rampage. So I'm
Chance.
pretty sure, like I used it in some of the battles, and if they're a high enough HP, they will not go into rampage, but they will still get the bonus. And also, you can put them out of rampage if you have a lot nearby and just pop
Yeah,
cold blood
because-
on top of them.
As
So-
some people know, because rampage activates on health triggers. Usually.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So if they have
that's-
high health, they're not going to rampage.
Yeah, if they don't get hit by the thing they're fighting, or if you keep their health as high as possible, they won't rampage.
Which these guys can do a lot of damage. That's 15 there. That's let's see, 67. Oh, but they also have frenzy. That's 77 melee attack with 126 weapon strength. and there's 8 of them, so they're pretty much guaranteed to hit if it's large.
Yep.
So, best case scenario, you surround something with this, you're going to do a lot of damage.
Yeah.
There's a reason that these are used in the air superiority, like I was saying.
Yeah, they will just run them down, kill them, beat them.
This plus tic-tac-toe basically wins against any single entity that flies. Yeah. Basically, clearers of the skies, and also if you want to punt against them, they're really good at rear charging into cav fights as well. So if you have any, like you've got a cav fight engaged, then you can throw these into the back and you'll destroy literally any type of cav. Basically says what is on the packet. Next, Horned Ones, which is the elite cav of the Lizardmen.
Which is probably not that elite.
Yeah, it's probably the least elite.
They have high melee attack, like they're pretty much melee cav. That's it. Except even shittier somehow because they have 36 models.
It's like you took 2 Cold One Riders and you stuck them together in terms of stats.
Wait, have you like said something? Because why did the Cold One Rider, like why did all the Cold One Riders only have 36 models, or is that normal?
No, that's large, I think. Is that large? It should be, yeah, because the skin cohort of 120, they only have 36.
Oh yeah, wow. Okay, that's
They just have really big models.
It kind of. Here's the thing. So how much do they cost? 1,500. I can get Chaos Knights who have significantly better stats, with the exception that they just don't have armor piercing. That's literally all you're paying for is armor piercing.
I mean, they have pretty good stats, and they, if you're somewhat careful and maybe have some Earth Bloods lying around, you can easily get their value back. But they're still not used very often because you just have
just
better
too
versions
much money.
less gold available. Like
should be noted that
you
these
pay
are
500 less, and you have Cold One Spear Riders, which have like comparable stats on the charge and against large targets.
And you put a lot of your eggs in one basket because these guys take these guys are ideal cannon fire targets. They're amazingly good targets for cannon fire.
Because the other problem is that due to that low entity count, it means that each one of those entities dying is so much more pain.
So much pain. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't have them dying randomly for no reason. So it's very difficult to find good matchups because their melee defense is so low.
They'll die in melee pretty quick.
They're going to die. They're supposed to be. Those are stats like shot cav.
Yeah, to be honest, these are more shot cav because of their charge bonus, but they have rampage, which is the problem. So
but they have rampage. It's
a weird
situation. There's a reason no one uses them because they don't gel properly with any of their stats or their abilities.
Yeah.
Also, you don't need infantry killing power as lizards.
No, we don't need more because we've been over it. We don't need any more.
Yeah, the reason you're using the cold ones is to kill large.
Yeah. So Next, flying.
Basically
flying cav. Pterodons. There's 3 variants. We'll just cover them all at once because there's pterodons. They're fly.
All the same.
They're like you tore a skink chief into 8 pieces. On a pterodon it is. They have their rocks. They drop. That's a nice little thing that kills infantry again. So yeah, whatever you want to do with that. Although, Lycus, tell us about rock dropping on weapons teams.
That's such an annoying ability because it's annoying.
Go ahead. Give us more than that.
Okay, so what you do, like each of the pterodons has a different kind of rock that it can drop. It's like every pterodon has a small area of effect underneath it that it drops the rock on. It's an activated ability, you can only use it once. But it will pretty much, like, won't kill artillery pieces itself unless the artillery has like really, really low HP.
Mm-hmm.
But like 2 of them will kill artillery pieces, which is good for lizards because you don't
deal with artillery ever.
Counter-fire artillery, and artillery can't dodge very well.
No.
I wouldn't recommend, like, if you can get it on the front line, if clumped up units on front line, then also use it. It's really good. It does huge amounts of damage. But normally, any like opponents with a couple of brain cells will be able to dodge it with their ranged units or their like normal melee units.
Mm-hmm.
Or if they just shoot you out of the sky on the approach.
Against cavalry, but like how you use it most of the time is against like units with low leadership and with a lot of missiles, which even have a lot of. Like drop this on any weapons teams and you will kill it.
Also
it will
deck gunners.
Yeah, also deck gunners. Okay, so Vampire Coast as well. So it will
pretty much
rout
or
kill most
low health. Low health. Low like pretty much what's the good way of pointing out? The low model infantry units like Iron Drakes or something that have a low model count, but they're infantry, so they tend to have lower health, like 100 or something, or 150, which isn't enough to survive the rock drop. You could also drop it on an infantry unit, and it'd still do okay, because infantry tend to be very wide.
Yeah, Because it depends because you have to bear in mind how you're formationing out the unit as well.
Granted, you could probably find a good example of how not to use a pterodon when it was during the Empire session where it was the match between Empire and Lizardmen, where you tried to fly it in, and my handgunner just shot them out of the sky.
Blow them out of the sky, yeah.
Yeah.
The two variants with it being these guys have javelins, these guys have fire leech bowlers. Basically, these guys are better at single entities because they're throwing single javelins, so all the things focus on one thing. And these guys throw explosives, so they're better against like infantry and stuff.
Infantry, yeah.
That's more or less how it is. The ROR has it's special, blowy up. It has a more powerful bombardment that also sunders armor, which makes it, of course, better against
the front line.
Really against everything, because that sunder armor lasts for 30 seconds, and these don't have AP. So, while it is better against the front line, but especially if I have a Saurus front line, which isn't like AP itself. But also, bear in mind, anything that gets sundered is going to take more damage from your javelins as well. They also have some physical resistance, because why not? I guess they couldn't think of anything else to put on.
It'd be good for like dealing with armored units, yeah.
Yeah,
Drop it on
that's
some
the main thing.
dwarves, throw some javelins. Yeah, just what you said.
And not terrible in melee either. Not great, but not terrible.
Alright, it's time for the big monsters.
Finally, the lizard highlight thing.
Yep.
It's dinosaurs. This is going to be pretty similar because they're all pretty
Jurassic
similar.
Park.
Yeah, so Bispheral Bastillodon, really cheap. It's anti-infantry. It's armor piercing. It causes terror. This is a really cheap Terracorsa. Like, I think this is one of the cheapest Terracorsas.
Also
probably the cheapest.
Yeah.
It's cheaper than the Manticore.
Only downside is it causes rampage. So anyone with about 3 brain cells will decide, I'm gonna shoot that.
Yeah, and also even with its bonus versus infantry, it only has 37 melee attack. It ain't gonna actually do very much damage, but it's gonna live. It's gonna live a lot. Yeah, it has its charge bonus, so you want to. The thing is, you want to be trying to pull it through the units to get into those missiles as quickly as possible, but it's going to just trigger rampage and go off on its own. So
yeah, a lot of
kind of hard to control. This goes with a lot of the feral monsters, to be fair. But just starting off with these guys is they're just really survivable. These are the really survivable versions that just don't do very much damage. You can also go ahead and extrapolate Arc of Sotek onto them, which has been changed recently, so that it's basically a little vortex. It's hard to explain. It's like you've dropped a flock of doom on top of yourself. But it does a lot more damage than that.
And doesn't affect allied units.
Yeah, it's neither does Flock of Doom, but yeah, it's really good against infantry. Who would have guessed that Lizardmen needed more of that?
Anyways,
still decent, probably. Like,
yeah, if you this could be definitely one of the cheaper
use
versions.
it before it was just.
Also, it's a missile platform as well. So
so it fires off little poison rounds as well as it's going.
Yep. Which, as long as it's near the enemy, out of the 70 shots, it'll shoot and hit stuff.
Also, only the feral versions, I think, have rampage. Of course, these ones don't.
Yes. If they have skinks on the back, it's not going to rampage.
The other version, a revocation crystal, comes with 7 basically apotheoses.
Except
stronger.
with better.
Fear. And they resurrect.
And they resurrect units.
So pretty good heal all around. The only downside is they have a 60-second cooldown, so you don't get it off very often, but. Pretty good.
Yeah, but again, with the nerf to Earthblood, it might be a good replacement. For only 1,000 gold, you're bringing a monster that's heavily armored, that causes terror, and can heal units. And once you use all 7 uses, you can just be like, well, time to throw this in, and it also has ranged attacks. So.
It's even if you just, like, you want to be throwing as many of these out as possible, so even if it's just on your Saurus, it's fine. Throw on anything. Can't throw it on itself, which is a shame.
Pretty much, like, if you bring one of them, you could pretty much guarantee the frontline fight will win.
Yeah, just thanks to heals.
At least one of your units will just outright win, and then you can just heal anything that's wounded or badly damaged, and you can use it on units that are missing models.
Yeah, so that's the Bastildons. Next, we'll look at the Croxagores, 3 versions. They're more anti-infantry.
Oh, yay!
Yay! Yeah, very focused on infantry. You can see that you can tell by the 20 bonuses versus infantry there. Basically, you can just tell against large, it's not going to do much at all.
They do have solid leadership, though.
Yeah, good leadership and armor, and good health as well,
stats.
but even for Minstrous infantry, but really bad stats.
They kind
really
of
terrible
suffer
stats.
Yeah, but the familiar problem of having just really bad stats, but really good everything else.
Yeah, you give them.
But Rampage does help with that.
Yeah, that does give an extra 8 melee attack, but that's only when they drop 20% HP though.
Yeah, that's true. By that point, it's a bit too late.
The sacred versions come with magical attacks, and they basically trade.
Better stats.
Yeah, better stats overall, but they lose the bonus versus infantry.
Yeah.
So
overall, they are shittier at the job they're supposed to be, namely killing infantry, providing armor-piercing damage to the lizards.
Yeah. You're basically only bringing them if you really, really want magical damage for some reason.
Yeah.
Which is really strange, but who knows? Maybe you really need it. There's also the cohort of Huatl, which have an armor sundering effect.
Which
and
actually
some physical
would be
resistance
good.
instead of missile resistance. Bit of a weirdo. They're
And
very
actually good
expensive.
stats.
Yeah, pretty decent stats, but they are very expensive for what they are. If you maybe you can definitely bring these against the more armored factions if you bring like a Saurus front line, so against like Chaos or
Here's
Dwarves.
the thing: 100 armor with 20 physical resist. That's
a lot of
pretty
resistance.
good. That's a lot
15%
of tank.
physical resistance.
That's still a lot.
Yeah.
Like if you mix that with like our good old physical resist boy up there.
Gorok up there, yeah.
With perfect vigor, you might have
a
a real.
Yeah. Plus given that.
Yeah, Gorok might give him a rough time.
Yeah, so if you're going like light in the AP department and you feel like you need some more armor sundering, you can just go ahead and bring these.
Yeah.
If you got the money for it. Next, we'll look at the Stegodons. All versions
I thought
of
we were
them.
going to look at the Carnosaur, the T-Rex.
No, we went over the Stegodon, so
Okay.
we'll look at all the Stegodons because there's so many Stegodon variants.
Okay.
Oh wait, we missed the Bastildon. We missed the Bastildon. Who could
Hold
forget
on.
the solar engine? The solar engine.
Yeah.
This is what
it's
is
a
the
laser beam.
Yeah, it's a laser beam. It used to be a lot cheaper. It's gone up in price
Yeah.
a lot since the patch.
Yeah, because everyone would just bring like 5 of them.
Yes, they're quite good because they are an artillery piece that really can't be sniped at all, like ever, because it's on a Bastillodon. It has a good chunk of ammo, and it's not AP, but it's pretty strong missile strength, and also provides the blinded debuff. So if you're hitting something that's like fighting, it's going to drop its stats quite a bit.
Most likely you'll hit your own unit.
So I don't think you can trigger your own units for that debuff. I don't know.
Yeah, I know, but you'll still kill more of your own units anyways.
Yeah, acceptable casualties though.
Yeah.
But yeah, pretty powerful. These things are paired pretty well if you're going with a very tight formation, or if you just already have like a Slan Lord to heal them up as well.
Or you've got a monster you need to kill.
Yeah, if you hadn't noticed, Lizardmen have a lot of single entity options, and usually these take the pick sometimes. But now with the buff, the nerf they received, you might see them less and less. Back to Stegodons. We find them all.
They've got horns.
There's so many variants. Sure, there they go. I think that's in price order as well. So, Feral Stegodon, this is basically the next step up from the Bastildon. Not quite as much survivability, but more
also can rampage.
More damage. They're not so much as a hard thing to kill, but
terror.
They probably just die more because they're a nicer target, because they actually do damage. They actually do have more HP. I think less armor though. Yeah. There you can see the stats difference.
It's a situation of like, do you want to spend that extra, like, almost double the cost of the Bastillodon for something that you might not micro? Like, if you're not gonna micro it, you might as well just bring the Bastillodon, throw it in.
With like a revocation crystal or something else, yeah.
Yeah, just bring a revivification crystal where you can just click and then have it sit there for a little bit, and then.
Yeah.
But this, you're putting a lot of money into a unit that you have to micro.
It is like nearly double the price of a Feral Bastillodon, so you really want to make sure that when you have these, you micro them.
Or a revivication crystal.
It's still really good against dwarfs. Like you usually see teams those against, not dwarfs. Yeah, dwarfs are probably also, but against Skaven as well.
Yeah, because I think they have much more speed than the Bastillodons, like 10 more speed, so they're going to be able to run through a lot easier. Also more mass, because obviously they can run through more.
They're bigger.
And angrier. A version that isn't angrier, the regular Stegodon, comes with the missile strength of the skinks on the back, which also means it loses its rampage.
Armor piercing.
And has 5 more leadership. Don't know why it has more. I guess from the platform. That makes sense. That's where the HP's coming from. So yeah, mainly you're bringing this if you really don't want it to go into rampage. And you
that still only counts as 1.
It should also be noted that these feral things all have like really low leadership. 60 leadership. Not good. 60 is low. You don't want these to run because they can be chased off really easily.
Okay.
It's just another reason why you typically stick them onto your like skink heroes or Henneman lords. The Engine of the Gods is actually no. First we'll look at the regular Ancient Stegodon.
It's a laser beam.
Next Ancient Stegodon, you can just see there's a ascending order of professionalism. The Ancient Stegodon just has like better armor, better HP leadership, and more weapon strength, but has less melee attacks because it's older.
Yeah.
Don't know how that works, but it does. And also, I think
it's old and decrepit. It's like
the regular Stegodon has like giant blowguns, and these just guys have javelins. I think is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. This
well, no, I think the one on the left, the 1551 got ballistas or some shit on it.
Yeah, it has a ballista. Oh yeah, of course these have a ballista, don't they? Because you have the ballista to snipe artillery with. Yeah, and it should be noted that these come with like basically an eagle bolt throw on the back.
Yeah.
And you can use that to snipe artillery. similar to a solar engine.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Whereas the ancient Stegodons just come with basically blow pipes and javelins thrown in the back.
But they still do 600 damage.
Yeah, well, I think no, that's not how much each one does. It's like the collective amount.
I know
For
the
how all
collective
the
amount
things, yeah.
because that's still a lot of, but
That's a lot of
relative.
damage.
That's a lot of like shots going out in every direction. Because the thing is, how the Stegodons, their little crews on the top, they fire in all directions. So if it's in the middle of a fight, it tends to poison everything around it.
Yeah, or just anything it hits, even on way in the distance, it can throw out and just poison something way off in the distance.
It's kind of nutty.
But it is again really expensive. Like, when it comes to all of these, to be fair, you could probably just bring a mount version and you'd be way better off.
Yep.
Next, Engine of the Gods. This is, I think, yeah, it didn't have the same firing capabilities as the back, but that's because it's traded it off for a giant laser beam. It's just a giant. It actually has a couple things, doesn't it? It has
a dinosaur
Doom
with
laser.
laser beams.
It's a dinosaur with a laser beam attached to its frickin' head.
So it gives improved power recharge rate to all your casters, which is like as if Lizardmen needed quicker magic. Also gives +5 damage resistance to all allies in range, 40 meters, and it also gives a wind ability they can use. It isn't quite as bad as say Vanguard's Revenge, but it does have a pretty slow recharge rate. This takes a while to pop up.
But also, it doesn't take magic, and it's
no, and it has 2
very
charges for
strong.
free. So
yeah, and the initial laser spot will delete anything it lands on. So it's good. Like as long as you drop it on a valuable unit, you get at least a good portion of its value back immediately.
And just be aware that if you're not putting it something where like they're not tied down, it takes a while to wind up.
As we found out, you could also bring like the Skink Priest on one of those,
which is just better.
Technically cheaper
For a
option.
cheaper version, yeah. And you get a caster with it instead. Like, actually, let's have a quick look. If we take this guy, Enter the Guard, drop all the spells off, all his abilities.
Yeah. I think he's almost
and he
the
gets.
same
Oh, he
cost.
actually has less leadership. Oh, that's the engine. No, it's the same version. He actually has less leadership.
It's just, but one more
but
health for some reason.
Yeah. Why? I guess is that the Skink Priest? What is that
The
difference?
Skink Priest.
Do bear in mind, this also gives the trade-off here is that you're getting Encourage and also the Cold-Blooded, which is 2 really helpful abilities in most situations. So overall, it probably is worth it. Because this has Encourage, which doesn't Encourage affect itself.
Yeah, so it,
also you can Cold-Blood yourself as well. So technically speaking, that leadership is made up.
It's made up by a lot, and also
And
again,
then you can bring your selection of spells.
Yep, you can bring a selection of spells that you can yeet across the battlefield.
Finally, we have the Thunderous one, Ancient Stegodon. What does this guy do? What even is this? Someone else talk about it. What does it do?
Creates basically a mini lightning strike.
Yeah.
Is it like Eltharion
if
the
it's
Grim?
in melee, engaged in melee.
Is it like Eltharion the Grim's thing?
Pretty much, if you charge into something, it zaps everything around it that it hits.
So yeah, so from the sounds of it, similar to Eltharion the Grim's ability, it's useless and barely is noticeable. But it's nice.
I think it's more useful than Atharion's ability, but like still.
It has
very
10 charges. That's how Eltharion has infinite.
Kill infantry faster.
Yeah, as if you needed more. You need more. Well, is that little Stegodons? Next, we're on to Carnosaurs. There isn't too many of these, at least. There was 2 of these, exactly. And I thought there was more. Yeah, of course you have the mount options, which we can mention. Basically, these are the anti-large monster. The anti-large monster. Yeah, they're the anti-large monster.
It's the dinosaur. It's the T-Rex.
Yeah, this is for taking out large. Which makes a change for the Lizardmen, and usually it's infantry, so it's nice to see something different.
Yeah. It has Frenzy as well, meaning it can actually has good stats for a monster.
Yep, pretty good stats.
Yeah,
and it does lack in the leadership, but again, just bring them as a mount and you solve that issue.
Yeah, you solve that issue instantly.
There's
just
also
bring on like a Scar Veteran or Krokgar.
Have literally not used this guy yet, so ROR, what does he do?
What does he even do?
He has Vanguard deployment, which is like
interesting.
It's really funny. I don't think it's that useful.
He loses.
And,
does have
and
Rampage.
Strider.
And he can also hide in forests as well.
Yeah, he can hide in forests and has Strider.
Yeah, so if you're on a map with forests, then if you want to do some crazy... Actually, to be fair, if you're doing like a chameleon skink vanguard deployment army, you can
That
bring this guy all of a
actually
sudden.
would work.
Okay,
Just comes out of the woods.
yeah, it's like literally Jurassic Park.
It's Jurassic Park when the T-Rex somehow sneaks up on everyone inside the museum. It's like just is
how?
there. It's like,
Jurassic Park new.
So yeah, it's probably
Crazy
got its uses. If you're going for some sort of crazy vanguard build, then go have fun, go nuts. Or if you want to,
wandering around.
if you want to actually, fair, if you want a really heavily forested map, of course, like the Scarvet on the mount will actually affect from the trees, but this guy has Strider, so he doesn't get affected by terrain, which can be helpful.
Meaning he can fight in the woods.
Yeah.
If you're
which can't be said for any of the
wood
maps.
elves in a wooded level,
Then you're gonna die.
Actually,
then you're gonna die.
then you're gonna die.
But at least you'll do it with style.
Yeah, you run in and
died.
the Strider means that he won't get the large debuffs.
No, it also means he moves through it like easily. You can run through it max speed constantly.
That's the idea of like if you have an enemy that you know is gonna hide in the forest, you could just run into there.
Basically, look at the map. If there's a ton of trees, go nuts.
Bring it. Yeah, bring it. You might as well.
What we got next? Oh, next we got the Quartles. I'm undetermined of what to think about these. I said they were terrible.
As far as I heard,
I don't know. I don't know. I got destroyed by them in a quick battle earlier.
In my experience, it's kind of janky.
Yeah,
it's
the
main fact it's a flying monster. It's not really anti-infantry or anti-anything. It has decent stats, probably.
Yeah, it does have pretty decent stats.
The funny thing about it is it creates an area of effect underneath it where everything is stalked.
Yeah,
so
everything beneath it is stalked.
If you really want to fuck over your opponent, as like tons of YouTubers pointed out, hidden Dread Saurian. It will be half your army, but it will be fun, and you will probably lose.
I do think this actually works really well against Vampire Coast, because I got destroyed by it.
Yes, I saw a game with it against Coast.
You can really sneak, because the thing is about all the cavalry for Lizardmen is to get destroyed by cannons, but if you can hide them all underneath this thing, that all of a sudden makes them really good.
Also, you could probably bring 1 or 2 with Tic-Tac-Toe to support his air superiority.
But, yeah.
Because it still has chain lightning. It still has chain lightning.
It's a minor chain lightning.
But it's still something you can drop while, like, he maybe...
Yeah, it comes with these bounce spells.
Tic-Tac-Toe and Wobble, like, blob up.
2 of these, 1 of these.
Yeah, and it's like... But if you have a bunch of infantry trying to surround, like, the Lord, you can just drop it on them. And punish them for doing that.
The ROR, its only difference is its spells are switched out. Instead of having a lightning bolt and a chain lightning, it has a shield of thorns and a lesser banishment. Which means shield of thorns, you get 2 of those for free. That's pretty good. That is a pretty good, helpful little AoE buff. The banishment itself, I don't see that much help in the banishment compared to a
Actually, I
chain lightning.
could probably see the shield of thorns be useful with Tic-Tac-Toe, like with all
yeah,
the
definitely.
little. Yeah.
Yeah, that would work out pretty well with that Goon squad or like just that squad. But yeah, Quartles, I can't make up my mind what to think of them. So some research for
not enough time and not enough games have passed to see if they're useful.
They are really a weird one that can't be determined quickly.
Like they could be useful, but as far as I've heard, their animations and stuff are really
I think
janky,
the main thing holding them back.
Hit or miss.
Yeah, the main thing holding them back is how they move.
I can tell you that the animation is shit because even if they're like in melee, they're still like 10 meters above the ground, and they get stuck on units which are 6 meters under them, which is just
not good.
Really frustrating if you watch it.
Yeah.
Like, really, really frustrating.
Well, finally we got the biggest ones themselves, the Dread Saurians.
The Dread Saurian, yes.
A lot of damage, a lot of melee attack, not a lot of melee defense. A really nice target for missiles. You took a Carnosaur, you made it bigger. That's basically what this... And slower.
Away its melee defense.
Yeah, and it made it slower as well. Yep. It is a...
It does 750 damage!
That is... I think that's probably one of the largest base. Probably is one of the largest base weapon tanks in the game.
You could probably add like the other one is
the next one is literally it's like you can see how much Rampage is worth because it's 800 extra gold and it's not rampaging, but it also has its javelins which are negligible. So really you're paying 800 gold for it to not rampage.
Yes.
Which, considering how much it dies to missiles, is actually probably worth it.
Yeah.
Because if this thing goes into Rampage in front of some like Thunderers, it's going to die slowly because it has 11,000 health, but it's going to die. And when you're paying that much gold for it, you really don't want it to die. What even does the Shredder of Lushu do?
It has a special effect that causes the leadership of all units around it be dropped by 8.
And it has Encourage as well.
Yep, and
then of course increased stats. But that is
I've
3,700 gold.
I remember in a free-for-all we were all playing. Tex had brought down the ROR Dreadstorian on the Empire army, and it literally touched this Empire Spearman, and they instantly broke.
They instantly ran.
They instantly terror routed, and
I
it's
mean,
like,
I would
oh,
as
that's
well.
neat. Yeah.
I'm not even blaming them, but the thing you have to bear in mind is it's 3,700 gold. This thing's way overpriced. Never go with this. It's way too expensive.
This is like a third of your army.
Bear in mind,
a quarter.
You can bring Master Money with literally everything. Drop this because you don't want it. Drop some spells. There, boom. It's cheaper and better in every way.
Yep.
This is the typical version, and that is 800 gold less, and it is just more helpful and more useful and just better.
And has a caster on it.
Yep, it is.
Like the only reason you'd bring the RR one is either you know the opponent is so bad that they can't do anything about it, or two, they're playing a faction that you could actually benefit from doing that. But the problem there is that most of those factions tend to have a lot of guns.
Yeah.
And can just shoot it to pieces long before you get there, unless it's like one of those really compact small maps.
Mm-hmm.
Which is at that point it's your opponent's fault for making.
On the full country, you can bring it probably.
Yeah, that goes for, to be honest, this applies to all Dreadsaurians. Very expensive, a nice target, but nice to look at. The end.
If you don't bring life magic with the Dreadsaurian, Willow will lie under your bed that night and probably murder you.
Specifically life magic. Apotheosis ain't doing it for these guys. There's only 500 health. Do you see their health pool? You need constant regrowth on these guys.
Yep.
Constant. Or just Revivification Crystal, one of those would work quite nicely on them.
Yeah, one of those. If you brought 2 Revivification Crystals...
You can't though because of the cap.
Oh yeah. No, wait. 3 monsters?
No, but I think by Banner Wars.
I don't... Are you not allowed to
Maybe.
bring 3 monsters? No, you're allowed to bring 3 monsters. Yeah, you could just bring that.
Bring that.
And then you still have 8,000 gold. And you could probably
because the reason why I'm thinking is because obviously you can't bring any of your lords and mounts then.
Yeah, you can't bring any of your lords on mounts, which you could just bring
a life slant.
No, or you could bring a life slant, yeah.
Over life.
Yeah, no, I was thinking of Sigvald.
Oh yeah, Sigvald. Gorok.
Gorok, yes. I couldn't remember his name. You can bring Gorok because he's pretty cost efficient and can stay alive and can keep the front line from breaking.
This thing, on the other hand, will not stay alive. Don't bring these. I just don't. Okay, next. Raise the Hunting Pack. Yeah, also don't bring these. They are.
Ignore their buff.
Yeah,
ignore their buff. They're still garbage.
Yeah, on paper they look. Whoa, they're AP Salamander Hunting Pack. Whoa, these are really good. They have AP missile. Whoa, yeah, they're so inaccurate. They are literally hand cannons for Vampire Coast, but worse. They can't hit anything. They couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. They can't hit anything. And when you want a missile unit, you kind of want it to hit something. So don't bring these.
No,
these
don't do it.
Regular Salamander Hunting Pack will actually hit things. And they also have a bit of extra large damage as well. They have flaming ammunition and flaming attacks in themselves. These things aren't very good in melee. Any of them are not very good in melee. Their main thing comes from their missile attacks, which are basically like...
should we at least take a second to explain why we don't bring Razodon Hunters? Razodons?
They're inaccurate.
Not just inaccurate, but they also have a stupidly slow fire rate.
Yeah, that as well.
Like playing Chaos, I'm able to just walk up, beat the shit out of the Saurus with Chaos Warriors, and they still haven't killed my guys yet. Or
even if they're shooting them in the back, they wouldn't be able to.
Even if they're shooting in the back, they'll either 1, miss, or 2, they'll kill them too slowly before my guys kill all the Saurus.
Not good. These will actually hit because they fire single projectiles. These things fire like shrapnel. Yeah.
Yeah, they're explosions.
You can think... Let's just ignore this unit. You can basically think of these units like archers. They're basically the closest thing Lizardmen have to archers with their range. And the fact they fire like explosive shells just makes it a bit different. But they're basically the closest thing you have to archers. And they're quick as well, which is quite nice. You can run them away if the front line appears to be collapsing. But ideal target is those lightly armoured monsters, single entities. Especially if they're weak to fire, like regenerating. Next, you basically just
quite fun.
Yeah, they're quite,
if you're dealing with trolls, they're actually
quite fun.
Yeah.
Not for the opponent there.
Like even single entities that are not heavily armored, you can pretty much delete them.
Monsters and stuff like that. Yeah.
The next version is the Ancient Salamander, which is basically you merged all of them together and you gave it AP.
Yep.
It's a single entity, so it fires a big old single shot.
Is it actually good at shooting out artillery pieces?
No, not really.
It doesn't have the range.
At least in my experience.
But you could use it because of the flammable. You can use it with a regular hunting pack.
Ooh,
and just
flammable. Get a flame caster. There's a fire build in the Lizardmen process somewhere. If you're making it, you're doing something wrong, but it'll be funny anyway. These used to be more expensive than Bastilled on solar engines. In all regards, they were just worse Bastilled on solar engines, but now that they're cheaper, they might see some more usage. They have not as much range as the Bastilled, and they don't survive as much if they're going to get caught out, but they have more speed, and they actually do probably more damage to heavily armoured stuff. Quite a bit more damage to heavily armoured stuff, but also their missile travels a bit slower, so they don't hit as often. But for 1,050
It's also worth
gold...
to put on that it has a different angle, like the...
Oh,
yeah, it's an
Bastilled
arc
on
of
a solar
fire.
engine is basically a laser shot. This is kind of like a mortar
Yeah,
shot.
it's an arc of fire.
Yeah,
So if it's on a hilly map, hilly map,
it's
this
got
will be
really
better.
good angles, so you can shoot over hills.
Although,
And
again...
any salamander, if it's get caught in melee, it dies.
Yeah,
doesn't matter
no
if it's a large one, because now it has a shitty mass, so...
Other than the
Thanks,
fact
CA.
that its health is combined, so it can run out maybe quickly, but that's all.
Yeah,
we're going to
it's fairly fast. It's got like its charge bonus is meh, but the melee attack and defense is okay.
Yeah, really.
It's got rampage.
You can start. I mean, it has AP and it has a decent charge
if it runs
bonus.
out of ammunition, you can kind of
Yeah, you can like cycle
with
charge it right at the end.
Like
yeah.
it's not awful. Like I think the reason why they nerfed it was because people kept using it. It was just better than to bring.
I think it's got a 200
ones.
gold decrease.
Because I think what kept happening was people would just bring salamanders and not bring any gold ones because they could just use the salamanders instead to charge stuff for cheaper.
I mean, it's got
with
a
the range
cost
attack.
decrease. This was like 200 gold. I think it was 1,250 gold before.
Yeah.
So pretty good. What was I going to say? Oh yeah. Problem with Lizardmen, the problem with bringing these is that it all counts towards the rare single entities cap. And if you hadn't noticed, they have a lot of them. And so there's a lot of competing
and a lot of them that they
viability
want.
for what they... Yeah, exactly. And this doesn't usually win very often. But sometimes it does. If you want it to win, you can do.
If you're going for a build just to fuck over Grom, you could bring him plus a bunch of
Yeah, the problem is Grom's pretty
salamanders
quick and it doesn't land quite as fast. You'd probably
Yeah,
be
it's
better
not
off
a
with just a
fast-
solar engine.
Yeah, unless you use that net and then just use Masamudi's net and it's like you're going nowhere.
Yeah, just stand down.
I'm
Next,
kind of curious how fast Grom would die, but yeah, next.
Amazon. Yeah, those barbs. These have poison.
Oh, a max on barbs.
Poison
yeah,
and some
it's-
resistance. Yeah, they're
Okay,
terrible.
that's-
Next,
yeah.
Humble Tide.
They're
I forgot.
better.
Oh, they have perfect vigor, which
They're
helps.
They are really, really nice. If you want
Really
salamanders and can afford it, bring the Umbral Tide.
Yeah, Humble
Because
Tide.
what these things have above the normal one,
Stalk
they have
and perfect
stalk.
vigor. Stalk, of
So-
course, helps quite a bit because when it comes to artillery, these are like golden targets.
Yep.
So having that stalk so they can't be seen until it's way too late really helps them out.
Yeah.
Pretty good. So
straightforward.
yeah, pretty good. If
And
you're
again,
wanting those salamander
they're-
honey packs, bring these.
Their melee stats are better, so they can actually stand in a fight and survive, and have okay charge bonus, so they can cycle charge after they're out of ammo.
To be honest, if you're bringing an ancient salamander, drop it and bring this. That way you have more rare single entity cap because obviously
Yep.
these don't take the rare single entity
Or
cap.
anything with a solar engine.
Yeah. These probably put into that sort of the best sort of like one of the best range units of Lizardmen roster now. Now that Bastildon's been nerfed. Pretty good.
Yeah.
We already talked about the solar engine. Already talked about the Stegodon. The new ones for Troglodons. Are they meant to be shooting as much as they do, or is that a confirmed bug? Do we know that or not?
That's a bug, I think.
Yeah, the fact that they shoot a lot more than they should be doing. They do a lot of damage.
Mouse over missile strength, it tells you the reload speed.
7.2 seconds.
So yeah, it's
That's
fast.
lying. Yeah, I swear
Yeah.
I've seen it shoot twice in the space of a second before.
Yeah, I think it's the fact that there's a bug that makes it fire every 2 or 3 seconds, right?
It
Yeah.
basically looks like it's spitting twice. It's shooting twice.
Yeah, it does a lot of damage basically. It has a
Uh,
okay range, but archer range. It's mainly for sniping entities, and it does a lot of damage to those entities. It's also in terms of stats and everything, it's a decent large monster, comparable with like a Stegodon. in terms of
Actually,
stats.
it has really high melee defense for a
Yeah,
monster.
46.
It,
Pretty
higher
much.
than the
Oh yeah, more than the Stegodon.
Carnosaur.
More than the Carnosaur. Pretty good melee
That's
defense.
really good. That
And
like
50
that's
charge
really
bonus as well. This
for
is like,
1700. That's actually really good.
yeah, it does have rampage, so you can't always make full use of that charge bonus. But of course, that's why you use it as a skink oracle mount.
This makes me feel like it's like, but go on, buy the DLC.
Yeah,
It's got better units.
This is one of those. This is one of those. Like you compare it to the Carnosaur, it's just
It's just
better.
better. It's
Yeah,
just overall
just is.
better.
Like in melee, of course, the Canos is going to do better, but if you're doing enough damage with the range before it gets into
Yeah.
melee, then you should be fine.
Yeah.
Also has poison.
Yeah, and poison damage, armor piercing.
Finally,
and its missiles are anti-large up for 150.
yeah, for 100, that's a
so
ton of extra
1,000 damage a shot.
Of course, again, terror causing as well. The ROR,
Yeah.
it's basically just a buffed up version, but also comes with this ability which gives an extra 24 melee attack to itself and everything in range. For 31 seconds, 60-second recharge. That's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
Because you're applying that to itself, and all of a sudden its stats are really good compared to like.
And also, since it's a ranged unit, it's only going to activate that when it wants to.
Wait a second. You compare this to the Terror. I guess that's the whole thing from this comes the fact it has Strider and Vanguard and Hidden Forest. But this is just better in every regard in terms of stats. Because it comes with this, and it also comes with an extra 7 melee defense and more melee attack temporarily. Troglodon's really good. Oh, it still has Rampage though, which is a problem. But again, you can just take a Skink Oracle now, and then you fix that problem. Or you just take a Lord to cold one it. Okay, well we're done with the Lizardmen section now, thank God.
Yes.
It took a little while, but thankfully the Beastmen section isn't as flushed out.
Come on, Willow. We had some laughs. We had
yeah,
some
it's a good time.
times.
And to be fair, the Beastmen session
A few giggles.
is really not as nearly. You compare it's
All right.
not as
so
much.
let's start with the best Lord in the
Beast Lord.
Beastmen. Yes, the Beast Lord, the best Lord.
You can put him on a Tuscal chariot. Are those still broken as well?
Yes, they are.
Okay. Yeah.
but
okay, let's just pretend like they aren't broken. Basically, you have two chariot versions, the cheaper one and the more expensive one. They're both AP and anti-infantry, pretty much the same. Except
it's just a minor change in stats.
Yeah, these cause fear. Basically, whatever you want price-wise. This goes for literally almost everything in the Beastmen roster, so that's the last time I want to talk about that.
The abilities is effectively I think Apocalyptic Vision, more damage, and then the other one is the melee attack.
Plus 24%. Yeah.
And then the key thing about him is the item.
The Horn of the First Beast.
Yes. If you use him in like a blob, he's really dangerous.
Yeah, it's like an extra 48 melee attack AoE.
We did a few tests with Minotaurs, and we watched a unit of champions get evaporated by like 2 units of Minotaurs and him.
You can also get an extra 10 from the Gorbel as well.
Yes, you can.
So you can get 58 AoE.
Yep.
That's pretty good.
It's disgusting.
It reaches Orcs levels of warness.
Yeah. It's if you really wanted to end the game immediately with an all or nothing play, you can use the Beast Lord.
Yeah, really.
The horn used to be map wide.
Yeah, which was
when
a rough
Beastmen
time.
were still actually good, and I would just lose. My Chaos Warriors would lose to like Gore Herds, and it's like, wait, what? Because they were getting the buff from the Beast Lord horn, and since you can't look at the Beastman stuff without the DLC, I had no idea what the item he was using.
I mean, it also has. I mean, even though it's not map wide, 55 meters is a pretty big range for an AoE.
55 meters is still pretty big. It's enough to affect an entire wrecking ball of units.
Should be noted that this is basically the only standout thing for the Beast Lord.
Yes.
Everything else about
other than that,
yeah.
he's just pretty. Other than the ability to turn a wrecking ball into a fucking wrecking missile.
You're really bringing him for his melee buff attacks and not much else.
And that's about it. But he's fairly cheap. He's fairly cheap.
He is the cheapest option, but he's nowhere near Red Cristed Skink level of cheap. But he's still okay.
He's a cheaper Kazarak.
Yeah,
which,
speaking of which, Kazarak,
the disappointing boy with one eye.
It's sad.
I always imagine if like Todd's like his rival, right?
Yeah, Todd.
Todd wants him dead. I imagine it's like Todd gets himself a glass eye, and then Kazarak just steals the eye out of spite.
Yeah, out of spite.
Wears it.
Takes it.
And takes it and wears it just to piss him off, and it's just back and forth.
So old Kazarak, he's an anti-infantry lord.
Who's not very good at that job.
You kind of have to note that when you think of dedicated, where their only thing is their anti-infantry, there isn't many good lords there on that list. And Kazarak is not one of them. It's a good lord.
Yeah.
This is a nice little thing. It makes him even better against infantry. And this is 20% less damage.
Unfortunately, he has no good animations that hit multiple units.
Well, maybe with the Tuscal Chariot, it might be actually. I have to try that out. Maybe he's actually super OP.
Yeah.
At least until they fix him. You know it's not good when they fix him. He's going to be way worse. Probably the worst legendary lord in the Beastmen roster. Still is. No, hasn't changed.
honestly, compared to like what the Beast Lord can bring, I'd say he's just fucking worse than him.
Yeah, because he's more focused on himself, which isn't really what you want too much.
Where the Beast Lord
in
at
a
least
chariot
can
lord.
support all of the other
Unless it's Grom.
guys around him. Yeah.
So yeah, not great.
Like, he's an armor-piercing chariot. That's kind of like the only thing he's got going.
Yeah, that's about it.
That's it. And that's not even that great.
Moving on. We have someone that is pretty great, even after he hasn't been changed, so he's still amazing.
He's
Morga,
still him.
when he has his special ability, Spirit Essence of Chaos, which basically whenever something in 60-meter radius, an enemy unit, reaches 20% HP, he will just delete it and turn it into a Chaos Spawn unit.
Oh, that's how that works?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
It can't affect Lord and Heroes, but like best case scenario,
makes sense.
I've seen this turn a Bastillon into Chaos Spawn before, and tell me that was a good day. Considering
just 20 comes out of its belly.
Yeah, considering it's percentage based, so if something has even if something has like 3,000 HP left, if it had 10,000 max, then it's dead.
What happens if you use it on a rad abomination?
It works. It works on every unit.
Yeah,
There's not a lot of hero. You
really
can't.
Funny.
I've seen like single entities turned into Chaos Spawn.
Yeah, tons of times.
think I actually saw something bigger than a Bastillon. I think once. I think I saw Blood Knights once. The Willow, didn't we? Didn't you turn a Blood Knight unit into Bastillon into Chaos Spawn once in one of the training games we did for?
Good times.
Yeah, but yeah, if you wanted to avoid Skaven using the too horrible to die on their the abomination, just use that.
Yeah,
it's not gonna work against Skaven though, because you're just turning one random Skaven slave units into Chaos Spawn.
Even then, it's a Chaos Spawn
you're turning
summon.
the monster into it. So.
You don't even care about what it is you're killing. You're still summoning a Chaos Spawn unit, which for what is it? 240 gold. That's worth it.
You could also probably use it on fleeing units, so if they flee back into their own lines.
No, unfortunately, it has 60-meter range, so it doesn't work quite as well. But and also, it's you can't control who it targets. It's just the first target in range gets selected automatically.
Is it like an instant cast?
Yeah, as soon as something in its 60-meter radius hits that criteria,
it's just a pop.
It just pops.
Pops.
It's just a it's a weird head. It's like the only spell that does that, but it is. You can't select it. It just instantly pops off and does it.
It's like apocalyptic charge, except fucking good.
Yeah, and his item as well is he just summons a unit of Chaos Spawn in 60 meters. So if you hadn't guessed, Morga summons Chaos Spawn, and just that alone is like, how much is a Chaos Spawn unit? 900.
Chaos Spawn is 900.
You can get 2 of them for 1,800.
And they're unbreakable.
This is cheaper.
Meaning they will always keep fighting.
Yeah, although they are summoned, so they did degrade over time, but yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is, they have no armor anyways.
And they have pretty decent damage output as well. We'll get onto them later, but...
They have 168,
pretty good. Yeah, Morga pretty good. And then we're just talking about his Chaos Spawn summons. You look at the man himself, sure he only has 15 armor, but he has 75% missile resistance for some reason. He has 25% magic resistance. He has immunity to psychology. He has regeneration. He causes poison. He has pretty decent melee stats.
He's very difficult to kill.
Yeah, one of the more difficult lords to kill. And he has 75 leadership.
You can't get away with just shooting him with assassins or something.
He's very good. He's up there with the top Beastmen lords. Even after before the rework, he was hands down the best Beastmen lord. Yeah. Afterwards, he's up there.
He's still good.
He's still good. For some matchups, he's still at his best.
Yeah.
I'd say still against elves, he's the best.
Probably what you wouldn't want to use him against is factions that can outright kill him very easily in melee or get to him.
Also, with those Chaos One, is just not going to do anything. I'd say like Chaos probably like the one of the worst options.
Yeah, Chaos because Archaon, Kolek, literally any of the lords will beat the living.
And Chaos One ain't going to do much like Chaos Warriors and stuff.
Yeah.
Although it would be nice to turn using the Chosen into Chaos One. That would be fun.
If the Chosen gets that low.
To be honest, the Chosen would be happy to be turned into Chaos One. So I don't know right.
Well, actually, no. Being a Chaos Spawn is.
Oh yeah, no, they probably wouldn't be that happy about it now. Yeah.
Yeah, no one is ever happy about being spawned because it's just really shit.
The Marauders would be happy about it. Well, the fanatic Marauders, the more crazy among them.
Yeah, the dumb ones. That's what the really.
So yeah, really good lord. Next, we have the generic lords. First things we're talking about.
The generic shamans.
Shamans.
Lords.
You got the 4 lords. I think this is the 4 lords that even with these guys, you have beasts, death, shadows, and wild.
We should probably talk about the wilds one, but
we're leaving that to
we'll go over their
spell.
stats.
When we're doing the next spell thing, we'll probably have wild in there. Did we do wilds already?
Oh, we haven't.
No, but we'll do it when we do the next magic session.
Okay.
So again, Tuskor, Razorgore, Chariot,
15 armor,
AoE minus 5 melee attack and minus 10% speed. Arcane Conduit.
100% you're gonna want this guy on this on a
chariot. Yeah. I think this goes for nearly everything in the Beastmen roster that you can put on a chariot.
Because,
especially with how broken they are.
Well, not even no, well, yeah, they are broken,
Yeah.
the newer chariots, but in general, though, they have so little armor, so little speed and stats, you need them on a chariot.
Yeah, you need them to help out.
They will just die. They will fucking die to anything, because they don't have 75 missile resist.
Nope. So this really helps them live a lot more than other lords would.
And they get some good damage, they get actual melee attack and defense.
Yeah. And for items, you do get Forbidden Rod, which again, weird having it on a lord, because you usually don't want your lord to die, but it's there if you really want magic.
You know, if you really want to die.
Yeah, go ahead. Be my guest.
Like, even though you could just do that on the... actually, do the regular base shamans get it?
No, the regular base shamans have a much better option.
Oh, okay.
Which we will get to when we cover them.
Yeah, we'll get into it. We'll go to it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
spoiler.
Next generic, Doom Bowl. This is basically a... well, we may as well cover this first and then talk about the Gore Bowl. But, yeah, it's new generic lord. He's a generic Minotaur lord, melee specialist. He's pretty good just all around. You can run him through stuff because he has 45 charge bonus, good mass, 100 armor, 5,000 health, and he also has a melee attack that they can
47.
Yeah, which he also applies the dazed effect to whatever he hits, which is minus 10 melee defense and minus 25%
which is
speed.
Effectively, it technically makes his melee attack 10 higher at all times.
Yeah, which is pretty good.
Once he hits a unit, and it means that he's very good at catching things. Any cavalry unit that he hits is now going to be stuck.
Also, similar to the Goble, he has Slaughter's Calls, so he provides a constant AoE plus 10 melee attack and plus 8 leadership, and also some charge bonus to everything in range. So you want to stick him with your cavalry Minotaur core, basically.
Yep. Same thing. It's like the similar thing with the Beast Lord. You want to stick him with make a Wrecking Ball, and then stick him with it.
Except unlike the Beast Lord, this guy can carry himself on his own as well.
Yeah.
Quite easily. And he also has a fist, which is more melee attack. And his items, he has Hellfire Sword, which imbues fire damage if you really want it, and some extra damage.
If you're against like trolls or orcs
or something, or wood elves.
Yeah, wood elves
would be pretty good. But then again, you can probably just bring Torx if you want to shoot against that.
Yeah.
And he also has Potion of Foolhardiness, which can help. If it's an extra 40% that like doubles his charge bonus as well, and the Unbreakableness is quite nice.
Yeah, that's like what, up to 60, 70.
Yeah, 60, 70. Yeah, pretty good.
Plus everything else you could probably get.
And he also has Deadly Onslaught available to him, which is even more charge bonus if you want it.
Yep.
And next, the bigger version of the Doom Bull, the angrier, more metal version of the Doom Bull, Torx the Brass Bull himself.
Yeah. He is all brass.
130 armor is the most armor the Beastmen are ever going to see. By far. Which makes him a real oddity in terms of the roster, because he can really throw... Because when you're building against Beastmen, you don't usually think about armor, but this guy really throws that off with 130 of it. 80 leadership.
He really can throw down.
64 speed as well. All the Minotaurs very fast. It goes through all of them very quick
also
for monsters infantry.
53 melee attack, 47
fire damage, 47 melee defense, 500 weapon strength, and his armor piercing. 54 charge bonus as well.
50 bonus.
And then and that's not even looking at his abilities. Again, he has Slaughter's Call, so that he himself is getting an extra 10, is constantly, and his allies as well.
Yeah.
And he has a Blood Beast ability, which I haven't seen exactly how much damage this does. I don't know. Does anybody say?
I've used it in campaign recently, and it does okay. Like it does okay damage, but I think the main reason you're using it is
it's like Verminous Valor sort of thing, where you just
actually
the
the problem is it doesn't have a very big radius. It's like it's literally what is directly beside him.
Right, okay, so he basically gives a little bit of damage and minus 8 leadership to everything in range.
Yeah, it says it's strong versus single units because it has no AoE.
Right, yeah,
you pretty much use it, and you're pretty much applying a debuff to everything around you.
Which, I mean, he causes fear, but he doesn't cause terror, so leadership debuff is a leadership debuff.
It's still a leadership debuff.
He also has a brass body, which just basically makes him...
great mighty brass balls will...
Oh my god, this ability makes him so
really
unbelievable tanky.
Yeah, typically, normally he's average tankiness. Like he's going to be a bit of a target you might want to watch out for. Things like anti-large armor piercing stuff will go after him quite a bit. But when this is popped, he just dies really slowly. And it lasts 41 seconds, which is a really long time. Like Grom's Banner, let's take a look at that comparison. I'm pretty sure that only lasts like 20.
Yeah, but I think Grom is a lot faster too, though.
25. And this is actually giving more survivability because this is getting melee defense. This ability is better than Grom's Banner. Grom's Banner used to be one of the best abilities in the game.
Well,
Or
also,
items even.
Grom is faster than him, so...
Yeah, but actually not by that much.
At like
84.
84.
64,
No, he's
84, 20,
84.
20 extra.
he's much faster. The
Although to
thing
be fair,
with
he's going to stand and die, so...
And also, Grom is a chariot, and he is a gigantic Gorbel that is super angry. So they're two very different types of lords that need two different types of things.
Still insanely tanky.
Torox wants to stay in a fight and keep fighting. Grom wants to roll around at the speed of sound.
And be fighting while he moves, because he has that with animation.
Yep.
But yeah, 24, that's like, what, 71 charge bonus? I mean, melee defense, that's a lot of melee defense. That's a lot of melee defense on a single entity.
Yeah.
And he has 130 armor and 40% damage resistance. You can see why he gets so tanky when that's popped.
But again, 120 recharge time, meaning that after it's been used, you have 80 seconds to wait before you can use it again.
Yeah, basically, you're going to use this... You'd be lucky if you use this twice in a game. Yeah. Most of the time, you're just using it once. But
Pretty
even
much,
then,
though, I've seen him getting beaten up by Karl Franz with all his buffs popped. I popped the breast body, and I just didn't care. Karl Franz and I think Empire Captain and the Wizard
didn't do anything.
Beat on him, and he just didn't care anymore.
If you're facing Torox, you see him press that button, breast body, you just leave him alone for 41 seconds, then attack him. Because you ain't going to do anything to him while that's popped. Here's for his items.
Unless you're...
Well, as long as he's engaged in melee, he gets an extra 10 melee attack and more damage. Which is alright for 174 gold, most of the time.
Yeah.
Pretty simplistic buff.
You might as well bring it.
Final Lord, Malagor, he can fly. Oh. Yay, he can fly. He provides a constant -4 leadership, 40 meters. He has an extra recharge rate bonus with his unholy power.
And he also has two different
bonuses. Yeah, but which are two pretty good ones as well. Beastful Surge plus 15% charge bonus and 5% vigor, and also Wild Heart,
more magic,
which gives more magic, which is always nice. And he also has Arcane Conjurer. He can get quite a bit of magic.
Yeah.
He's a pretty decent caster. He also has a mixed lore of spells now.
Doesn't he have his wings now and stuff?
Yeah, he flies.
Yes.
Oh, he
flies.
Okay, so
I think to note about him
is
he's a small target when he flies. I think he's the only small single entity target that's flying in the game.
Yeah,
so he's
pretty
tic-tac-toe
might be.
Well, harpies are small targets.
Tic-tac-toe.
No, but I mean
single entity.
Harpies is not a single entity.
Yeah, sorry. No,
so he does a lot of flying entities get bonus versus launch, like Pegasus Riders or something, and he won't get caught by them because he's so fast. I think Azak might give him a run for his money.
Actually, Azak has 110, I think, as well. So no, actually, Azak is faster. Azak has 115, I think.
Yeah, he'd still probably get away because of how long the animation takes to swing with the Wyvern.
I know Balthazar Gelt is like 110. Azak can catch his ass.
But again, the fact that he's a small target also means he's not going to get hit by missiles very much.
I don't know. Well, we have the greenskins, so let's check Azak. How fast does he go?
110.
Okay. So the same speed as Azak, okay.
Yeah, which really fast, really small. He's basically a caster that can't be touched. Unless you want it to be touched, because he's decent in melee, so yeah, do if you want him. If you want to risk it, you can throw him in.
You need to micro him though. If he just stands still, he gets killed.
Pretty good selection of spells. Enfeebling Foes, quite good. Pendulum, good, and also Cygor summons. He still has those, and Flock of Doom. So pretty good selection of spells. And his item, he gives a constant 40 meters in his 40-meter range, 12 leadership.
Which is actually good for the Beastmen because it means they stay in combat for longer. And since he's flying now, unless you're facing a faction with lots of accurate missiles, you could just fly near your guys and keep them high morale.
Keep them morale, yeah. Although Minotaurs have like insane morale, so don't apply to them.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it for the Beastmen Lords. Now on to heroes. We got the Wargor. He is an anti-infantry lord on foot with a silver shield. But yeah, like most things, you put him on a chariot. And most of the time you put him on a Tuskarl chariot because it's still broken.
Well, you could probably still have, if you put him on foot, you could have him run in with the Gores. And
and just act as like a basic foot hero.
If you could put him on a Tuskarl chariot, you can have him broken.
You could have him broken and kill
an armor
our
piercing
unit of Blood Knights.
By
himself.
Yes, you do. Completely normal. Yeah. He also gives a constant 4 leadership and 5 melee defense to all his allies in his range. He has Deadly Onslaught, as usual. His items are meh. He has Sword of Anti-Heroes and Potion of Speed, which is meh. Again, you can usually just strip these down and just have them on their Tuskarl chariots and they'll do great. As a chariot, single entity. For 900 gold, that's pretty good. Next you have the generic Bray Shaman casters. think of them just as worse wargors because you're putting them on the chariot. They have access to the spells, but most importantly, they have access to the Jagged Dagger, which is basically it's better than Arcane Conduit. I think it is, except it doesn't last long.
I'm not quite sure how much it values, but it's really good.
Yeah, it's really good because you can. It only has a 16-second charge recharge, but you have to be in melee to recharge it. But if you're on a chariot, it's very available.
Chariot,
yeah, if he's on a chariot, it's very possible.
Run into stuff and then run back and bounce until it recharges, and it activates instantly.
You basically always bring this when he's on his chariot, and you almost always have him on his chariot, so it's a no-brainer. Thing is, the only caster lord, like these are meh. These the generic great Brave Shamans are meh, but Malagor is basically the best and only real caster option for the Beastmen Lords. So you're almost always going to have one of these.
Yeah.
And then you're almost always going to have them on a chariot with the Jagged Dagger.
Yeah.
Next is the Gorbel, which is just a downsized anti-version version of like Taurox, basically. Slaughter's cool again. It should be noted that this doesn't stack, so if you're bringing one, you usually don't want to bring the other because they don't stack, because it's the same effect.
Yeah.
So don't bring this. Well, if you are bringing this, you can probably take this off if you already have like a Doom Ball with it. But yeah, really good anti-large single entity hero, and he's really fast. So most of the monsters he's chasing, he's going to get quickly.
Yep.
Does a bit of extra damage if he's below 50%, and he can cause terror and be unbreakable if you want him to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, pretty simple. He's a Carnosaur, smaller, better.
Pretty good for this.
Also 100 armor, which is pretty good. This means he doesn't really need a shield as long as he's not getting shot at by guns.
Yeah, as long as he's not getting shot to pieces. And he's, like, with all that stuff, he's got, like, only 1100. That's pretty good value for what he is.
So typically you, like, throw Slaughter's Call and you just throw in him with some other Minotaurs or some other, like, cavalry.
Usually, like, try and get a caster and then 2 Gorbals if you can.
Yeah, if you're going Malagor, well, actually, there's so many options now, actually. Beastmen can have so many options. But I think, like, I don't even know.
Malagor plus 2 Gorbals is a pretty common one to see.
Yeah, you think? I mean, I think these days, actually, you're probably seeing more 2 Wargors with Malagor.
That true, yeah, but that's also
before it used to be.
Because of the chariots. But if the chariot isn't broken, they're probably going to just go back to the the Gorbals, because the fact that they're just really good. They're really good at what they do, and they're really good at protecting him too. Usually. Yeah,
from large stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, pretty decent anti-large armor-piercing lord, which for hero, which is really quick and has high leadership. Actually, does he also have really quick? We should also talk about Bloodgreed, which is wait a second, is this the same thing?
Yeah, that's Bloodgreed right there.
Oh, I didn't realize. I thought it was something else. Anyway, yeah, Bloodgreed, pretty good ability, constant. As long as they're engaged in melee, he has an extra 5 melee attack plus 10% charge bonus, plus 4 leadership, and they're immune to psychology. Should be noted that they are basically all Minotaurs are immune to psychology as long as they're in melee, which is pretty much constantly. So you can basically count them as immune to psychology, even though it doesn't say so on the unit card.
Yeah.
Next, infantry, starting off with Ungor Spearman Herd. Yay!
They're awful.
They're terrible, but it's their job to be terrible because they're just the cheap front line holding unit.
Necrotic says boo.
Boo. No, he's booing me.
You suck. Boo.
Anyway, let's get over this. That was way too long. Ungor Spearman Herd, not good, but that's their job. They're
350 gold, and they have anti-large bonus. And
actually, while we're talking about this, we'll just cover all the Ungors at once, real quick.
Actually, cover the ability.
Spearman variants. Oh yeah, the ability. First of all, they're expendable, but also there's the Primal Fury ability, which is so long as their leadership is higher than 50%, they have 5 extra melee attack and immunity psychology. That's right.
Which actually isn't
everything
that
in
bad.
Immunity psychology, everything in the Beastmen roster basically has immunity psychology as long as their leadership's above 50%.
Yeah, with that
everything in the Beastmen roster has
this. I've never been so bored with my watching game
Ignore
die.
him. Ignore him. Unless he has a question, ignore him.
Okay.
So yeah, also this also means they basically constantly have 5 extra melee attack, which can definitely help out in the stat department quite a bit.
Yeah.
And even though they're spearmen infantry, they're not that good at large. They're just chaff.
Yeah.
These are all just chaff.
The key thing is expendable, meaning that the actual good infantry won't actually lose their morale because they get their shit kicked out of them.
Yeah, it's their job to die.
They're actually good chaff, unlike the skinks, who don't have expendable and do affect the leadership of the Saurus.
Yeah, exactly. Think of these as literally just clan rats. That's what these are. These are clan rats.
Well, except clan rats? No, Skaven slaves have expendable clan rats don't.
Oh, so they're better clan rats.
Yes, they're actually better clan rats. After.
Yeah, Ungol basic spearman herd, not much stat wise. They're the cheapest version though, so
they do more. They have more melee attack and do more damage.
Yeah, also all Ungors have stalk as well, which can be pretty good, especially since they don't have a shield.
Well, also they're vanguard deployable.
Yeah.
Vanguard deployable, expendable.
No, ignore him. Shit, I'm gonna meet you. Okay, on next Ungor herd, just a basic stat upgrade in all regards. These are usually the version you're using as your front line. Most of the time, they have bronze shield and they just have better stats in every department. So yeah, you're pretty much bringing this version over all the other ones.
You're gonna bring the shielded variants all the time, unless
Spearman
you're really strapped for cash.
Yeah, unless you're really strapped for cash.
Because technically, you could just not bring the shields because they're still gonna die anyways.
Yeah, and the fact they have stalk means they're gonna get hit by the missiles very often anyway. The shielded variant will have extra melee defense with the spear version. And lastly, there's
the Twitch ban.
Leave him alone. There's next. Wait, why does he have VIP? Does he have VIP? Are you giving him VIP?
No,
he's got
Prime
Gaming. It's Prime Gaming.
It's Prime Twitch stream.
Next, Destroyers of Dragon Lord.
Shouldn't they have this as well?
They do poison damage
and they have a ton more melee
stats.
defense. Yes, plus 17 melee defense. That's a lot more. That's 47 melee defense on an expendable unit. That's really good. They also have poison, which makes them die even slower and better leadership.
Well,
usually you can throw one of these.
The thing is that, for their cost, like
they're really good RR.
575, they're actually pretty good because they have really high melee defense and can hold an area that you want, or they can support your minotaurs in their fights.
Yeah, with their poison and high leadership to take all the damage basically.
Yeah, they can just tank up a lot of the damage.
So pretty strong RR. Next, onto Gores. These are your actual infantry, basically. If you're not just using chaff frontline mixed with Chaos
This
Spawn.
is effectively your orc boys.
Better than orc boys, probably. More like
yeah, they're
Savage
better
orcs.
than
Savage
orc
orcs. These are like Savage orcs, more like.
Yeah.
There's two variants of them. There's one with a shield and one without shield. You can see the stat difference there. Most of the time, you're just bringing the shielded version.
Yeah, unless you're really strapped for cash.
Because the fact that these don't have stalk and it's a 10 melee defense difference. The fact they don't have stalk and they don't have much armor means they will get shredded by missiles if they don't have that shield.
Yep.
So
they will die unless you're facing like vampire counts who don't care.
Yeah, but if you probably don't bring Gore Herd against the vampire counts, you probably bring something else. But yeah, if the regular Gore Herd without a shield do have 36 melee attack, you add that onto Primal Fury as well. They have 41 melee attacks. That is a lot of melee attack. So they can cleave through chaff really quickly. These guys. The ROR Black Horns Ravagers, they have again a lot of melee defense. They also have perfect vigor and +4 leadership, as long as they're not wavering. And they also have stalk and vanguard deployment. Actually, no, all of them have vanguard deployment. These ones have stalk though. Pretty good. Again, a really good ROR. These infantry RORs are all really good, apart from that one. We'll get onto that. Yeah, they all. Yeah, but to be honest, these two, as long as you have money for them, there's not much reason why you wouldn't bring them.
Yeah, you could actually probably reliably, unless you're planning on bringing like a lot of different other RORs, you could bring those two and add them into your front line and be generally fine.
Yeah, generally just fine. So yeah, Gores, your basic infantry, pretty good standard, pretty good chaff clearers, more focused on cleaving through stuff than the melee defense.
The best of Gores.
Best of Gores.
They are the best of the Gores.
They are a different kind of heavy infantry. Their stats are not good, but they have good charge bonus.
But they also have high armor and also armor piercing.
Yeah.
And now will Willow tell us why are they broken, Willow?
Because they do more damage than cavalry on the charge.
Yeah.
Basically.
Because
how do you know this?
Because I researched it. In my brain. So yeah, basically the difference between these and other heavy infantry is the fact that they have their speed and charge bonus. That's the main difference between like things like Harganeth Executioners, Hammerers, that sort of thing, is that they have that speed and charge bonus. So you really want to be trying to make use of that speed and charge bonus as much as you can. Like run them into units that don't last very long. Preferably, you don't really want these to be thrown into units that last a long time, unless they're like your prime target.
You don't want to run them into something like Chaos Warriors because they will outlast them very easily and kill them eventually.
Although they aren't still the only armor piercing infantry option for
Beastmen. The other thing is that they have 95 armor, which helps them last. Even though they have bad melee defense, it allows them to last fairly long. But if they're against a unit that
AP,
has armor piercing,
not good.
it's pretty much a race to the bottom that they're always going to lose.
Although typically things with APs, like great weapons, will have lower melee defense, so it's really just a race to who kills who faster. I suppose that's what all melee is, but it's more emphasized here. Because their charge bonus, and considering the extra 10%, and they have all their stats are in melee attack. They're going to have 40 melee attack to 24 melee defense. They're all about just cutting things down as quickly as possible. Good against dwarves and maybe chaos. The ROR is an anti-large version, which makes up for it with its melee defense, but it's weird because it's just completely switched.
It's a halberd unit, effectively.
It's
halberds.
Yeah, it's halberds.
Well,
it's a halberd
unit.
infantry. There's nothing really special to talk about. It's a halberd infantry. There really is literally nothing unique to these guys, other than the fact that they're the only halberd infantry in the Beastmen roster.
And have better stats, and that's it.
Yeah, that's it. End of story. They have worse charge bonus as well, so you aren't going to be making much use of that either.
Yeah, they're a surprisingly weird unit because they're kind of like a defensive unit or just very specific opponent they want to fight.
Yeah.
So even though they already have the big monster now, so there's no reason to bring them anymore.
Nope.
So why would you bring them?
Why not? Who cares?
Why wouldn't you just bring the broken chariot that could just
destroy everything?
Yeah.
Next, onto the long list of missile infantry, starting with Ungo archers. They are your typical cheap peasant archers. Pretty good volume of fire, pretty terrible everything else. That concludes the missile infantry section.
It's peasant bowmen, except slightly better because their melee stats aren't as bad.
Yeah, by a slight margin.
Yeah.
Also, I think their range is worse, but they have Stalk to make up for that, which is nice. And Vanguard.
Yeah, and they got the whole like extra melee attack thing, so they actually have
they actually have 25 and immunity.
So
see, immunity
they're
like
they're a regular Ungor.
The Primal Fury doesn't apply to Ungors as much because their infantry is like 50, so they just that drops pretty quick.
Yeah, as long as they get a charge off, and it's like they could do some damage because they still have at least a charge bonus.
But to be fair, they have 22 ammo. They're probably going to die before they use all their ammo up.
Yeah.
They have a lot of it to use, so.
You're bringing them just to shoot at stuff. That's about it.
Yeah, if you're worried about lightly armored monsters, basically. Next is the cavalry section, cavalry and chariots. Centaurs. I think they're pretty good.
They're horsemen.
Yeah, they're your typical medium cavalry. They're a pretty light to medium cavalry tier. With their... It should be noted that with Primal, like the cavalry, obviously, gets even better bonuses from Primal Fury because of the charge bonus.
You know what they are? They're mounted yeomen, except better.
Oh, way better than yeomen. They're better Dark Riders, better Illyrian Reavers. They're closer to like Silverhelms.
Well, here's the thing. There's a step up from those like really shitty light shock cav, and then a step below actual shock cav.
They're just a really weird medium tier that nothing else really sort of exists in.
Yeah, something
like Nekara Horsemen. That's what they're pretty much like. Except they're more of a
they're able to beat out all the other shitty light cav, but anything that's got some real money behind it it'll lose flat out.
Yeah, I like to bring these more of just like a stronger version of Hounds. You're using them to like chase off skirmish cav, using them to mop up the back line, everything like that.
Actually, usually you'd probably want to mix them with Hounds.
Yeah, that's also
because the Hounds catch it, then they come up and finish the job.
Yeah, with their actual decent
they
stats.
have the leader, because they have 60 leadership. They can actually stay in a fight.
Compared to 38 with Hounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're pretty good in my opinion. They tend to do pretty well. Next.
Right, so you're comparing units relative to what? Just in general? Just in general, mainly. Like in things like Dark Riders, Illyrian Reavers, Mounted Yeomen, and stuff like that are generally all the same area of usefulness. Yeah, tier of usefulness. Beastmen Centaurs are in a weird situation because they cost more than most of those units.
And they're definitely above them.
But they're cheaper than things like Empire Knights and Silver Helms. But those units will beat them.
You know, they're basically Empire Knights without the armor. That's probably the best way to look at it. They're literally just they're just Empire Knights without the armor.
I think Empire Knights have slightly higher charge bonus.
Yeah, but considering they get a bit more extra with Primal Fury.
Yeah, the Primal Fury probably helps them.
Empire.
Yeah.
Let's compare some stats.
Because plus 10%, that's what around. So they'd have like 40, 46.
Ever so slightly less worse stats, but these have more speed.
Yeah, but with the primal burst from the 10% would push it up to like
That'll push up the melee attack,
4d6.
that'll push up the charge bonus, and the
Yeah,
leadership
it'll
as
push it
well.
up.
So yeah, they are literally just trading off speed for armor when it comes to these in Empire Knights. Which, considering they're cheaper than Empire Knights and you're getting more speed, typically the cavalry are more interested in the speed than the armor. So
and they still do damage and can beat up stuff, but the thing is, they'll lose Empire Knights because 1, their defensive stats are still worse, and 2,
they don't have
the
armor.
Empire Knights have
or
armor
piercing.
But they can run away from the Empire Knights. That's the trade-off.
The version of Centaurs that does have armor piercing is the Great Weapons variant, which I don't like particularly.
Because they have even shittier stats.
Yeah, they have way worse stats, and you're basically just getting AP in return.
Yep,
and you're
no
losing a shield. For 200 extra gold, you really just want to bring Razorgore Herd, really, in most situations.
Yeah, honestly, if they made it like 800 gold instead,
then maybe, yeah. But
it would actually find some use. But the thing is, you could just bring
Razorgore
Herd
and mix them in with Centaur herds, and you've just got a great.
Or you could take the cheaper option and get throwing axes.
Yeah, which also give AP. But
why not just bring
unit.
2 units of throwing axes with the 2 Centaurs, and there you go. There's all the armor piercing you need. You got 2 units to hold them, 2 units to throw axes.
The RRR Centaurs are great weapons are special because they have a bit of extra armor, leadership,
and magic,
and most importantly, magical damage, which is basically one of the only magical damage causing units in the Beastmen roster.
Oh wait, they got another ability in there.
Oh yeah, Guardian. Oh, they also have this. All Centaurs have this with their perfect vigor, which helps them out quite a bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, Centaurs are... the Guardian ability isn't usually used that much with these guys, it's mainly just that magical damage.
You'd have to stick them with a lord that they can keep up with, like... You
like
could probably put it with a
Taurox or Doomball,
yeah.
That sort of thing.
Okay guys, have fun.
See you later.
I'm heading off for now.
What's the high cap?
It's too late.
Yeah, I've just been listening here quietly, and oh my
yeah,
God,
I'm getting okay.
Beastmen, definitely.
Get out. Next, actually, just check covering this next Centaur unit throwing axes.
You said several things very wrong about Centaurs.
Good to hear. Now, moving on. Centaur throwing axes. In terms of stats difference between Centaurs and throwing... Listen, I've been at this for 2 hours and 20 minutes. I want to get this over with, Incat. Yeah, I don't care about your opinions.
Anyways, the ROR version is pretty much a poison.
Oh, the regular. We haven't talked about regular Centaur throwing axes. It's a skirmish cav with throwing axes.
They're throwing. If you know Marauder Horsemen with throwing axes, they're effectively the same thing.
Yeah, only slightly worse stats as well than regular
shields.
Centaurs, so they're decent in melee after they run out of ammo as well.
Yeah, they're okay, and they have the primal thing, so they actually get melee attack.
Yeah, extra melee attack and charge bonus. The RR version has poisonous, and they also come with regeneration.
Which I don't think regeneration is that great on the multi-numbered unit.
It is a bit strange.
Because they don't get models back.
Yeah, they don't get models back. Although it is only 45 models, so...
Yeah.
There's like 100 model per model, 100 health per model, which is okay.
They're a decent anti-large unit. Okay, that's what Incap says.
Yeah, they're pretty decent overall. With their I mean, they are very expensive, which is the problem. Like 1,100 gold.
Yeah,
it's like 300 gold extra just for regen, basically.
Regeneration that will most likely not work not work as you want it to, because a lot of their health they're losing is going to be out of their models.
Yeah.
Like each model is probably less than given its health, like 4,400. So that's
less
than
health
100 health.
Yeah.
Less than 100 health.
Slightly less, yeah.
Yeah. So most heroes will just kill them in 1 hit. Most cav can kill them in 2 hits.
Yeah, it's mainly if you're worried about like that counter fire thing. And because the thing is the poison isn't that helpful because most of the Beastmen roster actually has poison available to it, like Chaos Spawn, Jabber Slice, Ungor, Drakenbold boys.
I guess we could look at. So what do you think about great weapons being used against large?
Go on, then, Cup. Show your piece. Is he here still? He's not here anymore.
Anti-large with decent AP, high speed, they cannot be easily caught. But couldn't you do that with throwing axes? But cheaper.
No.
You can't in melee. You can't surround them because the throwing axes are
difference is with Centaur's great weapons is the fucking fast. 80 speed, I think it is, 85. They just can't be caught. The only difference is with the throwing axes is they run out of ammo eventually, and they can be caught a little bit. Because if you're not micro running well, they just get caught. Whereas with throwing axes and hounds, great weapons and hounds, you're not catching them easily unless you put a lot of resources into it. And they beat quite a good amount of low-tier infantry.
Aren't most monsters slow enough for Gorbals to catch anyways?
But you put them against Carnosaurs. Carnosaurs will rip them apart, and that's a big investment you're losing.
Yeah, I think...
But also, if you're facing Carnosaurs, I think there's probably something.
No,
you'd
it's just
want
my
to
first example. Like if you're bringing, let's say, hypothetically now you're playing against Chaos, so you bring,
Yeah.
that'd be 3 Minotaurs with weapons or components with infantry, quite good. And they bring 2 Dragon Ogre Shagoffs. It's like, well, those Minotaurs are dead,
Oh.
and that's a big investment to lose.
But also, if you had brought Minotaurs with great weapons, they'd still wreck the shit out of those Shagoths.
Next.
Especially if there's like a Doom Bowl.
Anyway, we're going back to chariots right now. Tuskor chariots and Razor chariots. They're typical bog standard chariots. Yeah, Tuskors. I don't know if it's just the mounts that are broken or if it's the regular ones that are broken.
It's the actual Tuskor chariots that
are broken. Yeah.
Yeah, the Razor chariots are still functioning like chariots. They have high mass. They push through things really easily.
Yeah, the differences here is bigger stats. These cause fear. These have vanguard. They're anti-infantry, armor-piercing chariots.
The Razor chariot should be better, but the Tuskor is glitched and just destroys everything for some reason.
Yeah, fun times.
Because you gotta push the DLC.
You gotta push that money. You fix it like a month after, so that everyone buys the DLC.
Yeah, they will get nerfed. But yeah, and Cat makes a good point about the fact that the great weapons can surround large monsters, hold them down, and beat them to death because of their multiple models. And I guess that's yeah. But also, it's, I guess, another reason.
Yeah, sounds good. Next
why you wouldn't bring the ROR, because the regeneration is useless. The unit models will die.
Yeah.
Too often. Hounds.
They're hounds. Yeah, real quick, chase stuff down. They ain't gonna kill anything, but they'll chase stuff down. Yes. Poison hounds. Yeah, they apply poison. The thing is, again, if you're going a spawn front line, you're already applying poison.
Yes.
If you bring a Morgo, you're already applying poison.
That's the best thing you can bring as Beastmen. They are they are the MVP unit. Anything runs off, you take them down. Any skirmish, you take them down. You pair them with Centaurs, and nothing can outrun you. Nothing.
Yeah, really quick, fast.
That's usually the main thing. You pair the Centaurs with the Poison Hounds.
And then nothing can get away.
Phone axes, and nothing can get to your phone axes.
Yep.
Razor Gores.
Why?
Big old, I think Feral Cold ones, we were just talking about them. They're very similar.
Yeah, they're very similar, but with higher charge bonus.
And more weapon strength. They're basically a lot of damage on the hit. I'd recommend trying to cycle charge these as much as possible.
Problem is rampage.
Yeah, rampage. So if they go into that rampage, they're just going to probably die pretty quick.
Razor Gores, if you're going to bring a minimum 3. Because if units can shoot, they're rampage 1. They're rampage 2, but they probably won't rampage
You could also
3.
mix these in with Centaurs as well.
They're decent, but they're not terrible.
Yeah. Next, Harpies. Typical flying bat unit. You throw these in to sort of tie stuff down. It should be noted that Harpies and Manticores, we'll go into Manticores, you need these against like dwarves just in case of gyrocopters. But yeah, Harpies.
Phone axes.
No, they don't do it as much as they should.
Wait, what? The Harpies?
Yeah, Harpies. Harpies time down, the Manticore kills them really easily.
Yeah.
So yeah, Harpies, they're again, think hounds, but they're flying. If you if your enemy's going like really like tied against the corner sort of formation, you really want to get into their backline against the stuff, then throw these Harpies in.
Yeah, they actually have okay weapon strength though, so they can actually.
But they don't have the most melee attack, so.
Yeah, which means, and they don't get the Beast Gore thing, so they, because they're women.
I mean, neither the hounds, but sure, we'll go with that reason. It's like I'm gonna have to edit that one out.
Edit the video.
Thanks, Psycho.
I actually like you giving them more.
Anyway, next, Pharaoh Manticore. Really good. These only just technically speaking a new unit, but yeah, really good.
Yeah. It's a
Manticore.
It's a terror bomb.
It's a terror bomb. It's got really good weapon strength. It's got pretty good melee attack. It'll go into rampage, sure, but it's only 800 gold.
It's very good to follow up with when your Gore Herd slam into the front line and do a ton of damage. You follow up with the Manticore landing in, and boom.
If your enemy has a really tight formation, you throw this into the enemy archers. The archers tear them out. Your hounds clear them up.
Yep.
Your Centaurs to clear them up. Hell, you just put these with your Centaurs and win like nearly every cav engagement that isn't super heavily armored.
Runs into demi. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. Yeah. So Chaos. Yeah. So Pharaoh Manticore, pretty good. Pretty good all around. As long as you're not dealing with too much heavy armor, you should be fine with these.
Yeah. And
next, Chaos Spawn. Good option for a front line is Ungors and Spawn. This is probably one of the better Beastmen front lines. Spawn have pretty damn good damage output, and they never break, so they'll always be fighting. And they apply poison.
Yeah,
and they have good armor. They have good HP.
That front line right there has pretty much, if you lose it, won't affect your morale even in the slightest, because the Chaos Spawn won't run and Ungors are expendable.
Yeah, this basically beats any front line that isn't armored like Chaos Spawn, like Chaos Warriors or Longbeards.
Yeah.
This will be like every other frontline in the game, pretty much. As long as it doesn't have too much armor.
Yep.
It works really well.
Oh, actually, they have. Oh wow, they have like 30. Wow, they have way less weapon strength, but I guess that's to balance it.
Will do.
Balance? CA?
Chaos spawn. Chaos spawn for chaos is like 160 damage.
Yeah, but then they don't have poison, do they? I think
Yeah, they don't have poison. They don't have.
I think Chaos Spawn for Beastmen have slightly higher melee attack.
Yeah.
Check me. Pretty sure.
No, but they do have
30.
it's Strider and Poison for minus 30 weapon strength.
Strider and Poison. So it's trading off 30 weapon strength for Strider and Poison.
It's still pretty good.
Oh, you're about the weapon strength, I'm about the melee attack.
Yeah, you see the difference
no,
between
weapon strength
regular spawn and Chaos Spawn, and Beastman spawn.
Yeah. What's the next unit?
Anyways,
yeah,
next unit is the Minnows.
Yeah, bear in mind that Chaos Spawn, you can summon 2 of these with Morgar as well. That's even better. Next is the Minotaurs.
Also, one thing you might want to mention with those that you didn't mention there at all is fighting in a forest. They don't give a shit.
Yeah, Strider, this is the whole Woodsman effect, is that they don't care about trees.
Yeah, Woodsman. All large units, I think all
Beastman units have that effect pretty much. They treat every Beastman unit has.
The key thing is that the Woodsman, they move at normal speed, they don't get blocked by trees, and their monsters don't suffer the crippling effect of being stuck in woods, meaning that fighting their monsters in woods doesn't mean anything. You can't just sit in woods and think that my spearmen will beat them. They'll lose.
The only monster you don't want to fight in woods is the Cycle.
Yeah.
Because he throws a fucking rock. Don't put him in trees.
Yeah, obviously don't put him in trees. Because he's an absolute beast. He's just gonna throw the rock.
I watched a certain 2v2 the other day where somebody Cygor kept thrown into a tree for about 5 minutes until he realised and then moved it. I'm not pointing any willows here.
What an idiot.
I won't say his name.
Regular Minotaurs, probably the worst variant of Minotaurs.
What?
Look at the weapon attack willow.
What do you mean?
Against Chaos, they're pretty decent.
Like 34, 32?
No. Weapon strength. They have bonus versus infantry.
Oh, yeah. The plus 18, which puts them up to like, what, 52? That's a lot of bonus.
That is a lot of damage, but they are going to die to Chaos Spawn. They have 32 melee defense. I mean, not Chaos Spawn, Chaos Warriors. Like any that Chaos Warriors, they'll lose.
But what I'm saying is, if you have a front line of say Chaos Spawn and Ungors, and you have 2 units of these, and you pile them into one unit, they will destroy that unit.
They'll
It's sort of a wild card. You don't see them a lot, but if used right, they're good.
They are still the worst of the 3. I think we can agree on that.
Actually, you could use them against vampires.
Yeah,
vampires don't shoot them.
Minotaurs will destroy them. They have a whale of a time with them.
Yeah, basic Minotaurs can actually screw over vampires really well because they have no missiles to punish them.
The problem with Beastmen is everybody goes for the shield. Without fail, any faction, I put you 100 games, 100 factions, you will always go shield. Because people don't think of them. But Minotaurs, good. I think they have a higher charge bonus. Am I right?
By like 2.
Yeah, they have a slightly higher charge bonus, but the main thing is that they have 52 melee attack against.
Also, here's that Blood Greed ability again, which is basically just a buffed up version of the.
And also with the plus 5, that would push it up to 57. Like that's a lot. Like you could actually kill Split Lords and heroes really easily with that.
I gotta say that's Berserk, but not nerfed.
Yeah.
If plus 5 melee attack,
The reason why I don't like regular Minotaurs is just because there's already a good chunk of anti-infantry stuff in the Beastmen roster. Like you've got all the Razor Gores, you've got basic Minotaurs do just good enough on their own. You have all the different chariot variants. Now you have the Tuskor chariots as well. Torok himself will cleave through melee as well.
Yeah, but people who are watching don't focus on Tuskor chariots. They will be nerfed.
Yeah,
they're going to be nerfed. Let's not focus on Tuskor chariots. But the thing is, you could also throw the Minotaurs into the front line and have them just chew through everything with the protection of the infantry.
So like a good front line would be like 5 Ungor Spearmen, 2 Gores, 3 Chaos Spawn, and 2 of these guys. And there's not really a lot that's going to stop that.
Unless missiles. Depending if they're missile faction or not.
But here's the thing: what are they going to do? Shoot the Minotaurs or shoot the Spawn? They're both incredibly dangerous units.
Minotaurs are way more valuable than the Spawn.
If you shoot the 2 Minotaurs, you have 3 Gores. 2 Gores and 3 Chaos Spawn. If you shoot, you see how that is. You've got to just select the target.
But anyway, the differences between the shielded variant and the regular variant is you're trading in the anti-infantry for 13 more melee defense and a silver shield. I don't know why they have a silver shield. It really should just be brought.
Have you seen the shield?
It's not that big. It is. I know, but a Minotaur is bigger than 10 men. If a giant has a shield big as a man, it's not going to give him a silver shield.
Well, it would to small arrows, won't it?
It probably wouldn't give a shit about smaller arrows, would it?
No, not at all.
It also gets 10 extra armor, which
that's the point. If CA is watching, remove all damage from missiles to the giants.
But yeah, Monstrous Infantry with silver shield, pretty good, and also 45 melee defense, pretty good.
But
Talk about the variant when you're here. Fuck it.
Yeah,
Oh,
also the great weapon. Oh, there's also the great weapon variant, which is
I was
in
gonna
my,
say,
in my
what
opinion, the
shield?
great weapon variant is one of the better versions because they destroy large and
Falcon said so.
and also because 28 bonus versus large.
Yeah, it's
They
very
have-
good.
Compare that to the infantry bonus of the regular ones. It's huge, and it's basically one of
28
your only
bonus
tools to
versus
kill
large.
large.
the Minnows.
The only-
Well, I was gonna point out that the other thing is that the Minotaurs, the basic ones, have lost a lot of favor because of how the meta's changed, where it's all super missile
Missile-based.
based.
Mhm.
And if that wasn't the case, Minotaurs would be good. People would bring them, but because volume of fire is so strong, it
Also,
just
I think, yeah, regular minute the regular variant has got worse now because Jabber Slice exists.
Yeah.
Like who
Jabber
needs?
Slice
You don't need these when you're Jabber Slice.
when your Jabba Slice can just jump into infantry, cause constant mortis engine effect.
Yeah,
as
Jabber
long
Slice will do
as
like a huge amount more than these things will.
So did you say the Java slice?
Anyway, we'll get into those in a minute. We still have to cover the other variant, the Butchers of Kalkangar, which are a really good unit because they have regeneration and really good stats. 56 melee defense is a lot for
That's
monsters
the
in
main
three.
scoring unit.
Oh,
The
and
thing
oh,
is,
terror.
if you bring them, people instantly target them no matter what. You could
Yeah,
bring,
they're a
like,
real nice
4
target for
four Java
cannons,
slices and they'll be shooting at
fireballs,
Butchers of Kalkangar.
just any sort of big
Mainly
rock.
because they're so dangerous. Because a Minotaur with regeneration and terror is
And 56 melee defense on a monstrous infantry.
And
That's a lot.
unstoppable.
Wait, you're forgetting about
Silver
48
shield.
melee attack as well.
Also, they cause terror.
Yeah,
And 48 melee attack. It's disgusting.
48 goddamn melee attack and
And
silver shields.
85 leadership plus an extra 4.
Plus 35 bone. Yeah, they're
89.
disgusting.
Yeah, really disgusting. Because also the
Literally-
fact they have terror, that means they're immune to terror.
It's like the Fireborn with the High Elves. You bring this unit, you're gonna get your value back, no matter how dumb you are.
As long as you just
Let's
don't, as long as
rephrase
you don't
that.
get destroyed.
Bring this unit, you're going to get your value back unless you're against the Dwarves or Empire or Coast.
Well, if you
So,
bring them against
yeah,
those, then just hide them.
Willow.
Actually, no, don't bring
pretty
these.
hard
Just
to
bring,
hide.
just bring the because just regular version probably better against those factions. I mean, as in
Yeah,
the
that's what I'm
shielded
saying.
variant, regular version. Non-RR. But yeah, there's Minotaurs, Bull Boys, Cowboys.
Onto Giants. They are.
Yeah, they're
Giants.
giants. Yeah, they're
The
giants.
Giants, but with Strider, so
No,
they
which
can
one?
actually
Not Strider.
you can actually hide them in the trees and
No, you
protect them
can't.
with.
Well, you can hide
arrows.
them from. Yeah. that's
Other
the
than
only-
that,
not
the
still.
Giants. Against counts, they're decent. That's about as much as you're
Yeah,
going
to
to
be honest,
Yeah.
now that Jabba
I like-
Slice
I like
exists,
the,
it's just you don't even
Yeah,
need them.
that was place exists, so there's no reason to bring them.
Yeah, Giants have just been
Just
phased
sit-
get even more than they were before.
Yeah,
Let's say that. Let's look at the Jabba Slice then.
Yeah, so that good segue. You can't be learning. Jabba Slice.
Picture you're learning from me.
These are infantry
Magic.
destroying machines. They have really, really wacky animations that just make them tear through lines like it's a piece of cake, and they
Oh,
can
so-
run through them easily.
So what we're just trying to say is, disregard this. They will be nerfed soon. Like
No.
Safari with his old.
No.
Like Safari with his old charge.
Yeah, but
this bugged.
that's still in though, isn't it? Also, this is it's
No,
not just one
Safari
animation
charge
of these
got
guys.
nerfed.
These have like 3 animations that just send
Yeah, I
them
know.
up wild.
Safario's got nerfed though. He had his mass like decreased heavily.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, I saw that change.
So
in
these
this
guys
one.
will be probably hitting that too.
60 armor as well is pretty decent for a beastman.
The melee attack's
Yeah.
pretty.
75 leadership is also pretty decent for a beastman. They also have
Pretty
they also
decent
have
for a beastman.
magical
about 10
attack
times
and
more.
poison. Pretty decent for a beastman because magical attacks, as you know, are pretty rare in the beastman roster.
And let's see what
42
they're
melee
two-
defense is also pretty good. Also, 25 bonuses versus infantry. So again, these guys cleave through infantry really nicely, and
Yeah.
they have AP
In other words, if you have a Carnosaur, throw it at them.
and 30 bonus versus 30 charge.
What's
And
their
they
two
cause terror.
abilities, Willow?
Yes.
Yes,
the
they have 2 abilities. One is that they have a little vortex that they spurt out constantly around them, which just makes them even better against infantry. This one causes
As
poison.
long as they're engaged in melee.
Yeah, as long as they're engaged in
they-
melee, they just spit out vortexes every 15 seconds. They're really
Yeah,
minor little
uh,
vortexes. Think of them as like
but
really,
they
really,
still
really
cause
small.
poison damage,
dwellers
which
below.
helps it.
Yeah.
And what's that? What's that other ability?
The other ability is a Mortis Engine effect. So long as the enemy is lower than 50% leadership, they suffer
Yep.
Mortis Engine damage.
Given the fact that it causes fear and terror, that's going to be pretty easy.
What you're telling me is this thing does not have regen for some reason.
No, I don't know why. That's a good point.
That's
To
quite
be
weird.
fair, it would be insanely meta if it had regen, but it doesn't.
How much
I
missile
mean-
resist does it have?
15. I'm going to
15.
take a wild guess.
Plus 60 armor, not bad.
Honestly, should have regen. Not from a balance point of view, because CA clearly doesn't know
Just
what
because
that
it's a
is.
wacky old
Just because
beast
it
of death and
it did in
chaos.
no, it did in the tabletop and
It's
everything
a,
else.
it's a
that came along with
pestilence
it.
creature from Nurgle.
Yeah.
It should have regen.
Yeah. Best way to kill this: Carnosaurs, cannons, and a lot of arrows.
Yeah,
Or
it is
bullets.
pretty surprisingly tough to kill if you microing it enough so that it just goes all over the place. Against
How?
dwarves,
From
this
one
makes
Hellblaster.
this before Beastmen had a pretty good advantage against dwarves. Now it's even more so because these do really well against dwarves. So long as it's not a huge open wide map where they can get shot before they reach them. They just run through literally everything. There's nothing in the even with the slow rune, they just run through everything.
Don't
Can't be stopped.
Else.
And the even better version is the ROR version, which instead of poison, it sunders armor in an AoE completely around it and on its melee hit.
Is nasty as shit. Armor
Really
sundering's
nasty.
obviously minus 30 armor, or is it minus 50 now?
30.
Minus 30. Yeah, everything like the most heavy armored thing you come up against would be 80 armor then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then especially when most of the Beastmen stuff isn't AP,
AP.
that helps out a really large amount.
Yeah,
really
and
good.
pretty much you bring that, throw it in your front line, and you just it wins the front line automatically.
Yeah, you just make sure to micro it and don't get stacked into too long. The other big old monster that was added with the recent DLC is the Gorgon, which is basically the anti-large version of the Jabberlife. It doesn't have nearly as much mass. It tends to get stuck a bit more, but it's an anti-large version.
Really good animations for fighting infantry.
Yeah, also really cool idle animations.
Remember, guys, gotta buy this DLC if you want this unit that's actually useful.
Has blood greed similar to other Minotaurs. You can think of it just like a giant Gorbel, basically. It also comes with a regeneration so long as it's in melee, and it's 8 hit points per second, not 4. So it's really good regeneration, as long as it's in melee.
Yeah.
It's pretty good against.
It's like the hunger when it used to be not great.
Yeah, it's pretty good, but don't expect it to carry fight on its own because it does only have 50 armor and 34 melee defense. So you typically want to throw it into other things. You don't want it to leave it on its own because it probably will die quite quickly if you're not too careful.
But 8 regen a second is pretty strong.
Really good. The ROR version comes with just literally. I don't know why they decided that the ROR version should just have more melee attack, but it does. This basically just makes this really good against infantry as well. Doesn't care because I mean at base it already has what 30 bonus versus large on top of the blood greed, which is an extra 5, and then this one also has frenzy and an extra 10 leadership at base, 12 leadership, 12 melee attack at base.
And
so that's 69. Add 10. That's 79. Add 30. That's 109.
Wow,
add an extra 5. That's 114 melee attack against large.
Holy shit!
That's a bit of overkill.
Maths.
I know it's hard, but I'm doing it. Yeah, so this thing will kill things really quickly, but again, only 43 melee defense and 50 armor for something that's that expensive. You're risking something.
Only 43 melee
for something that expensive, relative to the cost.
Relative to cost, yeah, but that's still 43 melee defense.
But the other problem is the fact that its animations move it around, making it difficult to hit.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it'll jump into a group of infantry and not die, because it'll just do these spin attacks that knock everything away before they get attacks off. So most of the time, it's not getting hit.
As long as it's not fighting anything like another single thing, which it surprisingly it loses to the thing.
Yeah, that's.
But to be fair, these Gorgons are more focused towards killing cavalry and masses of like infantry than
they are. It does lose to the thing, but the thing is also anti-large.
Yeah,
and
so
the thing itself is anti-large and regening.
This regens faster than that
what I'm saying is like the thing is pretty fucking nasty.
That's resistance. But again, these are more for some reason they don't do as well against single entities. They seem to do better against masses of stuff.
The thing is, though,
like
in a vacuum might lose to the thing, but in the game it always lose. For some reason, Skaven never have a one-on-one. If you're fighting a thing, you're
just gonna get shot.
Cannon, shit tons of things. Yeah, so never take things as a vacuum. Well, what's the last unit anyway?
The final unit, we're looking at Cygors, the only artillery unit of the Beastmen roster. These got a bit of a price reduction, 50 less than they were before.
Eat a rock at them. That's how
another reason why giants are getting phased out is these are basically just giants that throw rocks. The stats are worse, but you don't really care if you can throw rocks. Yeah, mainly
you can summon these guys.
You can summon these guys.
You can also summon these guys.
Consider how expensive they are.
No one brings Cygors because you could just summon them.
What I don't quite get is the fact that the Cygor summon is only 18 wins of magic and the Manticore summon is 20. The Cygors are 1,550 gold.
Because people
Manticores
don't
are only
use
800.
Cygors.
Differences, Willow. The mobility on the Manticore is a lot more of a threat. Whereas the Cygor,
you would have thought that would have been translated in gold cost then.
You would have, but if CA understood balance...
To be fair, actually with the summon Cygor, you're not going to be able to use all of its ammo, so that's probably most of the value going.
You get to use a good chunk of it, though.
Yeah, you get to use like a third. More,
and also a single unit can tie it up very easily, because it's very bad at fighting groups of infantry.
Yeah, the Cygor also gives a map-wide miscast chance as well. I don't know if that applies to the summon as well. I think it does. So whenever you summon, you're also giving map-wide miscast chance, which as if the summon could get even better.
Yeah, but the thing with what was it? The Cygors have real issues of fighting groups of units. because of the stats which the Giants still have
Yeah, I
over
mean, they
them.
have
because
17
the Giants
melee
have better
defense.
animations.
Yeah.
And also 17 melee defense. They will just die to infantry, just basic
Although
infantry.
they do have like 7,000 health, they can actually stick around for a while.
Yeah, they'll sit around for a while and then do nothing.
And then
They
die.
still have high melee attack.
Should be
They
noted
throw
that
rocks really
they are really far throwing and really accurate rock throwers for some reason.
Yeah.
Yes.
These are
They
pretty,
are
and considering they're the
champ
only
gold
artillery for the
medalists.
Beastmen as well, and you can summon these as well, so you can summon them like down the pipe of an Iron Breaker unit, and then throw the rock down the pipe and kill half the unit with
Just
one
because
rock.
I feel like Willow hasn't mentioned this, as he may or may not know it, he does. In the banner rules, you can only bring one Cygor if you bring a summon.
Yeah. Because you don't want to have 3, because you can completely wipe out an enemy force very easily
Yes.
with the Cygors.
And the reason I say Willow may not know this is because he frequently
Doesn't read banner
breaks
rules, yeah.
these rules.
The ROR Cygor
you.
is does magical damage, and it
Very
also comes with a net
oh.
ability. Although it's a really short range net, but it's still net.
But it's very good for keeping it safe.
Yeah.
Actually, well, when you think about it, especially if you got Minotaurs or something in backup or
Yeah, if you've got
ready to go.
Minotaurs in the distance and something lands to try and kill you, you can net it down, have the Minotaurs come over and help you.
Because
Well,
12
even
seconds is pretty long.
Well, even better, let's take us out to Willow's Fin, what you said earlier, whereas you can use Harpies or a Manticore to shut something down. This Fin just nets you as you land and just fucks off.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Although he can probably kill whatever you've landed on him pretty convincingly.
Yeah, that's a nice thing. It's an
Throw a
artillery
rock
piece
at
that
it.
similar to
If
Yeah.
you send hounds on the back to distract, yeah, this thing can just...
yeah,
eat
similar
it.
to the Bastiladon. This is an artillery piece that can look after itself most of the time.
Also, if you talk about Soul Stealer, I went FK.
Why would you talk about Soul Stealer?
Oopsie.
It's a spell, whatever, it's Gay Stealer or...
Oh, you
It's
know,
just-
yeah, the games.
it's
Yeah,
the
what
Soul
the net?
Stealer.
The net. Oh, you mean the Soul Eater?
No.
Yeah, that's the miscast.
Yeah,
so
Soul
you're talking
Eater.
about that, yeah.
Is it 50% you say? Or
50%, yeah.
Yeah, obviously,
Pretty
if
good.
you overcast, it's going to pop.
Pretty good. And also, it's weird that this does magical damage. That doesn't come in handy too often, because most magical things are either low entity or kind of hard to hit, like a Banshee.
Yeah.
Sure, if you hit a Banshee with this, good for you. You hit a Banshee.
Good for you. You've
And
killed.
it does
got,
also
like, a
have magical
quarter of
damage in
itself.
melee, so that does
But
help
there was
a
one
bit.
problem. If you're aiming for a Banshee with this, that means you're missing the Hex Waves and the Karen Wraiths.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're better off literally shooting any large model units or
Also, now the
like
Jabba Staff
cavalry,
exists, so you don't need
So-
infantry.
Coming to a bit of an end here, Willow, what would you say the top 3 winners are for this faction?
for
Not
the beast.
lords, not heroes. What units? If you had to pick 3 to put on top of the pedestal, what would you put?
Well, clearly the broken
Chaos
one,
Spawn.
the broken one, the other broken one.
Well, our Cyclone and Artania.
I'd say Chaos
Top
Spawn.
Chaos
I
Spawn.
can't
Go
look
from 3rd to 1st place, bottom to top.
bottom to top. 3rd place, Centigors, regular ones.
Yeah.
2nd
that's
place,
fair.
Chaos Spawn. 1st place, Minotaur's Great Weapons.
What about you, Psycho? Bottom to
Actually,
top.
no, wait, I'm changing my mind. Third
Too
one,
late. You said
no,
it.
third one, Minotaur's Great Weapons. 2nd one, Chaos Spawn. 1st one, Jabba Slice.
So you got so all large, all monsters.
Yeah,
basically.
basically.
You're saying a monster. Oh, Psycho, what do you say? 3rd to 1st.
Third to first. Again, I haven't played enough Beastmen to know
Neither's
what.
Willow, but he's giving us his. Go.
Yeah, okay.
Be some name.
From what I can tell, most of the buffs have been directed towards most of the monsters and their abilities, so probably mostly them. But I
But
would
which 3 units?
3 units. Can I pick lords and heroes?
No, no lords and
Nope.
heroes.
3
No,
units.
just basic infantry.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Basic
sorry.
Just anything else that isn't lords and
Probably-
heroes.
Yeah, the Pharaoh Manicore's new, so I can't use that. So
You can
I
use
probably say the Poison Hounds because they've been dropped in price. Or have they?
Yeah.
Or was that only Chaos?
Only Chaos. They're still
Wow.
450.
They forgot.
Okay.
No, they're both for 50.
Okay, so yeah, they also got there. So I'd say first off is the Chaos Hounds because their cost reduction is actually really big. Let's see. Yeah, probably. Yeah. Are we talking about? Are we?
No, just
talk-
3. Just go. Any 3. If
Yeah,
you had
but-
to choose 3 units to put in an army,
We've been here for
always
2
pick-
hours and 45. Hurry up.
Oh, 3
Put
units
like a-
put in an army.
Like
Probably
every army you.
the hounds, the Manticores, and the Minotaurs with shields.
That is a good answer. I won't lie. Willow, scroll up. Mine has got to be Ungor Spearmen, Ungor Archers, and the Hounds. I don't know what you said about the Archers, but they are the nastiest unit in the game. They're like in my opinion, the 2nd most efficient arch unit in the game behind
Yeah.
Tonga. I've
Because
seen 2 of those pepper down a tree man
Well-
ancient so quickly.
Thank you everyone for watching.
Yes.
This has been
Unfortunately, you had
the
to join
roster
us.
cover. Next session, we're going to be doing some replays of Lizardmen and Beastmen, so it'd be really appreciated if some of you could actually get some replays. You know, you've got a full week to do it, so
and
maybe
send
you should
it
do
to
something.
me.
Yeah,
Send it to Psycho.
Yeah, send it to
the
Psycho
five
for
people
processing.
watching, 3 of them is us, one of them is like us, and goodbye to the other person.
And Necrotic's the last one. I'm sure you're going to say something before
What
I
a
go.
sadistic
So I put delete.
bastard.
Yeah, okay. So I'm going to stop the stream now and stop the recording. Thank you all for watching, and goodbye.